Chapter 1474. The man blinked and almost wanted to dig his ears. What did you say? Using a talisman to win the flourishing Heavenly Light Finals? Are you kidding me? I've never heard of a talisman master being on the Heavenly Light ranking of the flourishing age. TSK, which corner of the world did you come out from? You're actually so uninformed. Go to the city and take a look or find someone to ask. Then you will know how popular Yi Lianshan is in the azure blue world. A man who was dressed in the Phoenix Sky Academy's uniform could not help but shiver. He had an unwilling expression on his face, but he could not help but be convinced, although I don't want to admit it, all the rankings in the azure blue world belong to Yi Lianshan this month. Sob, sob, sob. Every time I see any ranking competition in the academy or other sects, my body would tremble. I'm especially afraid of seeing Ye Liankin's name again. Me too, me too. Once I had a dream. I dreamt that the rankings of the Spirit and Martial Arts Academy's super monastery were all slaughtered by Yi Lianshan. With a single glance, they were all densely packed with the same name. I was so scared that I woke up. I was covered in cold sweat. When I see Yi Lianshan's name, I feel like I'm being dominated by him. You said that he has already slaughtered the 3 Ascencio rankings and flourishing Heavenly Light. Will he continue slaughtering the rankings? No, 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 don't scare me. His cultivation and strength are so terrifying, and his talisman skills are so heaven-defying. If he can also concoct pills and forge weapons, how can we still live? Listening to everyone's respectful and envious comments towards mine, Zheng Little Fatty happily walked home, his face full of pride and joy. In fact, because of God Yi, who had been standing by the side, God Yi actually gave each of them a mutated 4th grade talisman after the golden heavenly light ended. Even though it wasn't a barrier-breaking talisman, its effects were still heaven-defying. Not even pills could compare to it. Zheng Little Fatty, Jiang Xinyu, and the rest were all overjoyed. That was a mutated 4th grade talisman. Even if one had crystal stones, they wouldn't be able to buy or snatch it. Not to mention that great God Yi had given each of them several ordinary 4th grade talismans. Therefore, today, Zheng Little Fatty swaggered home. In the past, his family despised him for being mediocre and incompetent, and even his parents were laughed at. Today, he, Grandpa Zheng, would return home in glory and ruthlessly slap those people's faces. However, Zheng Little Fatty had only taken a few steps when a man with disheveled hair suddenly rushed out of a shop. He howled in pain as he rolled and crawled, occasionally tearing his own skin and flesh. It looked exceptionally terrifying and miserable. Zheng Xiaopeng was just about to walk around with a frown when he suddenly saw the man's hair scatter, revealing a familiar face. Big brother? Zheng Little Fatty exclaimed and rushed over to help him up. Big brother, what's wrong? However, before Zheng Little Fatty's hand could touch the man suddenly screamed, Immortal Talisman, quickly give me Immortal Talisman. Zheng Little Fatty's clothes were suddenly grabbed and squeezed so tightly that he could barely breathe. He stammered, Big brother, it's my heirloom. Big brother, how did you become like this? Chapter 1475. Zheng Little Fatty was lazy and clumsy, while Zheng Jiaming was exceptionally talented. At a young age, he had already reached level 9 of fasting, and was the hope of his parents and grandfather. But even though Zheng Jiaming's position in the family was vastly different from that of Zheng Little Fatty, he treated his only younger brother very well. His daily expenses were secretly given to him by his mother and big brother. Every time someone bullied him, his big brother would stand up for him. So although Zheng Little Fatty was a bit envious of his big brother, he was not jealous or resentful. Zheng Little Fatty was just about to circulate his spiritual power when his body suddenly relaxed. The big brother in front of him had been slapped to the ground. Who dares to touch my big brother? Zheng Little Fatty roared and was about to pounce. But when he looked up, he was met with a familiar face. Father, third elder, why are you here? Zheng Yuanqing couldn't care less about his youngest son. He strode forward, picked Zheng Jiaming up, and gave him a few hard slaps on the face. Zheng Jiaming, wake up! Zheng Jiaming's face was completely swollen, but he only stared blankly for a moment before his eyes turned red again. He screamed madly, "Eternal talisman! I want eternal talisman! Sob, 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 sob! I really can't take it anymore!" "What eternal talisman? You good for nothing! Haven't you embarrassed yourself enough? Come back with me." Zheng Yuancheng wanted to drag his son home. But Zheng Jiaming's talent was outstanding, and his strength was already on par with Zheng Yuancheng's. Now that he was struggling, Zheng Yuancheng was in a sorry state. Elder Zheng stood to the side, unperturbed, as if he was watching a show, and even gloating. "Yuancheng, I think you should stop wasting your energy. Jiaming is done for. I heard that those who used the Eternal Talisman all showed the same symptoms. They found many famous doctors and alchemists to treat them, but none of them recovered." Zheng Yuancheng's expression changed again, and his eyes reddened as he looked at his crazy son, who only knew how to shout, "Eternal Talisman." He knew that the reason their family had been able to live so well in the Zheng family all these years was because of his son's outstanding talent. Because Zheng Jiaming was the most outstanding disciple of the Zheng family's new generation, he attracted the jealousy of others. Now that Zheng Jiaming had been destroyed, their branch would most likely be relegated to the sidelines of the Zheng clan. "Father, what's going on?" Zheng Little Fatty finally couldn't take it anymore and rushed forward, grabbing his father's hand and asking, "How did Big Brother become like this?" Zheng Yuancheng looked at him and couldn't help but shake his head. Tears flowed uncontrollably from his eyes. On the other hand, the third elder slowly explained, "What else could it be? It was all because of his carelessness that he had used a talisman called the Immortal Talisman in the Tianguang ruins. As a result, he had become like this. Not only did he spend all of his family's crystal stones to buy an immortal talisman, but now he's completely crippled. TSK, TSK, TSK. If he wants to blame someone, he can only blame himself for being stupid. Are you the one who's crippled? Don't you dare slander my brother." Zheng Xiaoping stomped his foot in anger. Then he couldn't help but frown. The immortal talisman sounded familiar to him. Now, with the addition of Tianguang ruins, Zheng Xiaoping suddenly remembered. Damn it, wasn't the immortal talisman the talisman that Lu Ruoxuan used to participate in the glorious heavenly light? Chapter 1476. This Lu Ruo, going against great God Yi again and again, shameless and shameless is one thing. But now, she actually caused his brother to end up like this. He was really blind at that time, even going so far as to think of her as his younger sister. The third elder is scolded by Zheng Xiaoping, but he doesn't get angry. He only looks at him with more contempt. If he's not crippled, then find a doctor to cure him. Jiabao, your family will depend on you in the future. You have to grow up a little. Relying on Zheng Jiabao, this waste, Zheng Yuancheng's branch can be considered as completely crippled. From now on, the Zheng family's resources will all be his. Zheng Xiaoping suddenly thinks of something. Who said that no one can cure him? Dad, I know someone who can definitely cure Big Brother. I'll take him to him now. What? Zheng Yuancheng's eyes widen. Jiabao, don't talk nonsense. I've looked for the most famous Dr. Wu in our city, and he was helpless. Dad, don't worry. Our boss Yi is omnipotent. Lu Ruo and the Eternal Talisman are nothing. He can guarantee that he can cure it. The third elder laughs heartily. Jiabao, I haven't seen you for a few months, and you've learned to boast. How can you know some boss Yi? Don't tell me that he's your lackey, your unreasonable and unreasonable boss. If it was a normal day, with Zheng Xiaoping's temper, he would have already broken into a torrent of abuse. However, after hanging out with Mayan for a long time, he remembers his boss bearing that wouldn't change even if MT Tai collapsed in front of him. Zheng Xiaoping isn't irritable, but he coldly glances at the third elder. The third elder stares blankly. When has he ever seen this ignorant and incompetent junior show this kind of expression? Zheng Xiaoping doesn't pay attention to him anymore and goes straight to Zheng Jiaming. Zheng Yuancheng actually doesn't believe what his youngest son said, but he has already given up all hope at this time. Jiabao, do you really know a powerful doctor who can cure your brother? Zheng Xiaoping nods heavily. Our boss Yi is omnipotent. Zheng Yuanqing grits his teeth. All right, we'll take your brother to find this genius doctor now. Quickly tell us where he is? At this time, Zheng Jiaming once again can't hold back his roar and struggles, alternating between Eternal Talisman and Let Me Die. Zheng Yuanqing is sweating, but he can't control him. He can only seek help from the Third Elder. Third Elder, please help me. The Third Elder had already regained his composure. He thought that he had seen wrongly just now. At this time, seeing Zheng Yuanqing's flustered appearance, he was even more pleased with himself as he watched from the side. If it were up to me, why waste crystals on treatment? Seeing that Jiaming is about to die, it's better to let him go and let him destroy himself. Before he could finish, Zheng Little Fatty suddenly took out a talisman from his robes. She stuck to Zheng Jiaming. Spirit Power Burning Talisman? Zheng Jiaming, who had been struggling and roaring, suddenly twitched and fell down softly. However, it was not the kind of fainting that was similar to death. Instead, she fell into a deep sleep and even let out a sweet moan. Zheng Yuanqing couldn't believe his eyes. Ever since Zheng Jiaming's mutation, he hadn't had a good night's sleep. All the spiritual energy in his body was gushing out like it was free, making him crazy and in pain. But now his youngest son had only used one fortune card, and Zheng Jiaming had actually fallen asleep. Little Fatty Zheng's strength wasn't great, but as a fatty, his strength was great. Chapter 1477. Bao Bao Yu, where are you going? Of course, to find a quiet and safe place to enter Tianguang ruins, to find Boss Yi. Only our Boss Yi can save Big Brother. Zheng Yuanqing swallowed his saliva. Your talisman? Did that Boss Yi give it to you? Zheng Xiaopeng nodded without hesitation. This time, even the Third Elder couldn't stay calm. What Boss Yi? Bao Bao. Don't be deliberately mystifying. Which Boss Yi can give you this kind of talisman that can easily subdue a rank 9 fasting cultivator? Zheng Xiaopeng turned his head and looked at the Third Elder. The flesh on his chubby face moved. His mouth cracked open, revealing a mouthful of white teeth. This is a 4th-grade sleeping talisman. As long as a cultivator under Jinan stage doesn't deliberately resist, it can be subdued. This kind of talisman, our Boss Yi can casually draw dozens of them. You don't even know? Third Elder, aren't you too ill-informed? The Third Elder's face turned green and white. What Boss Yi? Tell me, who is he? Zheng Xiaopeng looked at him lightly. Then the smile on his face deepened, showing only his teeth but not his face. Didn't I tell you? My boss is called Yi Liangchen, the only Lord of Blue Sky in Azure Blue World, and also the champion of this flourishing heavenly light. What? Zheng Yuanqing and the Third Elder screamed together, their faces full of shock. When Zheng Xiaopeng went to Tianguang ruins, Mu Yin was really in there. She was bargaining with Little Tian. In addition to fame, I don't want all the other rewards of flourishing heavenly light, including the 7-colored cloud carpet. Can't I change it to drifting spirit fix? Little Tian's stiff voice came into her ears. No, because all the things added together are far less than the value of drifting spirit fix. Mu Yin was going crazy, but the price of drifting spirit fix you quoted is too expensive. Why is the shape-shifting jade key used by ordinary spirit pets only 1% of the price of this drifting spirit fix? Didn't you say I'm the first host? Can't you give me a cheaper price? In fact, Mu Yin always wanted to give Qi Huang a gift. It was to allow him to enter the Tianguang ruins and enjoy a moment of freedom to see a brand new world. After all, Su Zi's body was too weak. If 7 brilliance occupied his body too frequently, it could easily cause irreversible damage to him. This time, Mu Yin earned a lot of spar in the flourishing heavenly light. On top of that, there was the mysterious gift promised by Tianguang Su after they won the championship. She thought that she could at least let Qi Huang enter Tianguang ruins to play. Unexpectedly, Little Tian told her that the only way to let 7 brilliance enter the Tianguang ruins was to use the most expensive tool in the Tianguang ruins, the Drifting Soul Fix. And the price of the Drifting Soul Fix is so expensive that Mayan almost faints. Even if she added up all the income from the old man is the #1 under the heavens store in the past few days, Plus those gifts, she still couldn't gather 1/3 of the crystals needed for the drifting soul fixation. Hearing Mayan's complaint, little Tian feels wronged. But Tianguang Ruins has stipulated that the drifting souls must be priced at this price. That soul was too strong. In order to examine it, I spent a lot of energy. If he used flowing soul fixation, it would consume 100 times more energy. Little Tian also needs to replenish it with spar. Hearing little Tian say that, Mayan couldn't go on. Chapter 1478. Mu Yin touches her nose. Can I buy it on credit? Can I pay the crystals in several installments? Little Tian mercilessly says, at most 2 installments, but the first host you can't even get half of the crystals. Mu Yin is about to burst into tears. She is now the richest person in the lower 3 districts of Tianguang Ruins. However, he couldn't even pay 1/3 of the crystal stones of the drifting soul fix, let alone half of it. Bastard Tianguang Ruins, this is clearly robbery. Mu Yin indignantly exits the starter space where she communicates with little Tian. As soon as she returns to the shop, she sees Fatty Zheng rushing over in surprise. Boss Yi, it's great that you're here. I thought I wouldn't see you today. Since the finals of the Heavenly Light era, the shop has been crowded every day. Mu Yin has taught North Kuei Xiangnuan how to draw 1st to 3rd grade talismans. North Kuei Xiangnuan is very talented in drawing talismans, far better than the people of the Xiaorao sect. She can't draw mutated talismans, but ordinary 3rd grade talismans. They are far better than those in other shops. The quality must be good. In addition, during this time, Brother Elegant has recruited many talisman drawing masters through Yi Lianshan's fame. So now, Mu Yin only needs to be responsible for talismans above the 4th grade. In mutated talismans, drawing is enough. More energy begins to turn to alchemy and Shin musician skills. But even so, the shop is still full every day, and most of the people come for the talismans drawn by Yi Lianshan. They come for the talismans drawn by Yi Lianshan. If it's someone else, they won't be able to squeeze into the shop under such overcrowding. However, Northern Sunflower, Xiang Nuan, and Brother Dashing had forged a deep friendship with Zheng Little Fatty and Jiang Xinyu during the finals of Glorious Heavenly Light. So when she saw him hurriedly bringing people to look for Mayan, she led him into the backyard. Mu Yin glances at Fatty Zheng, feeling a little strange. What's wrong? You look like you're going to have a hard time again. Fatty Zheng staggers and almost falls to the ground. He stood up with a red face and said shyly, Boss Yi, my illness is already cured. Can you not mention it? Mu Yin smiled. All right, I won't mention it. What happened? Hearing Mayan's question, Zheng Little Fatty immediately falls to his knees with a thump, hugging her thigh and crying, Boo-hoo, great God Yi, save me. Will you help me this time? Mu Yin, what? Are you really sick? It wasn't me. Zheng Little Fatty lifted his head and wiped his tears. It was my big brother. As he spoke, he pointed at the bed inside. Mu Yin walked in and saw a man with a dark complexion and sunken eye sockets lying inside. Upon seeing this man, Mu Yin immediately frowned and quickly stepped forward. She already had a guess in her heart. At this moment, she felt his pulse and immediately said in a deep voice, as expected, he has used the eternal talisman. Seeing that, Zheng Little Fatty immediately pounced overexcitedly. Great God Yi, can you save my brother? The others couldn't even tell what illness his brother had. But great God, Yi just casually felt his pulse and saw it. If it was great God Yi, he could definitely save his big brother. Mu Yin flipped her hand, and a talisman appeared in her palm. This is a 4th grade mutated talisman. Chapter 1479. But most of them are 4th grade low-level talismans. The only 5th grade talisman? Only the barrier-breaking talisman that is currently being fought over in Tianguang Ruins. The one that has already been inflated to a sky-high price. Mu Yan's thoughts move, talisman. It immediately ignites and is pressed against Zheng Jiaming's chest. The golden flame quickly ignites on Zheng Jiaming's body, then spreads from his chest to the rest of his body. The unconscious Zheng Jiaming starts to twitch all over, cold sweat appearing on his forehead. Then, black smoke visible to the naked eye emerges from his body, twining around the golden flame. Or more like it's being slowly swallowed by the golden flame. All the black threads are about to be swallowed up by the golden flame. The golden flame suddenly bursts out and goes out at once. The black threads are freed and return to Zheng Jiaming's body again. Zheng Jiaming let out a blood-curdling scream and rolled on the bed in pain. Mu Yin reaches out and gently touches his brow, and he falls asleep again. Big brother! Big brother! Zheng Little Fatty looks at Mu Yin nervously. Great Guri, what happened just now? What happened to my big brother? Mu Yan's face doesn't show much surprise, and she says indifferently, 4th grade talisman? Its level is not high enough, and there's no way to hold on until all the cold poison is completely removed. After all, Mei Xin used to be a cultivator at the tribulation stage. Even if she has fallen, and her strength is not even 1/100th of what it is, isn't it still a 4th grade talisman? It can be resisted. Zheng Little Fatty says anxiously. Then what should we do? Can't even great guru Yi save big brother? What's the hurry? Mu Yin is still unhurried, and takes out a cinnabar pen and yellow paper. 4th grade talisman? No, just change it to a 5th grade talisman. Saying that, under Zheng Little Fatty's dumbstruck gaze, Mu Yin finds a place to support herself, and leans over to draw a talisman. The red cinnabar pen and ink slowly dye a gorgeous and complex pattern on the yellow talisman paper. A mellow and uniform spiritual power follows the outline of the pattern and seeps into the talisman paper. Zheng Little Fatty rubs his eyes and rubs his eyes again. Wait a minute. Shouldn't drawing talismans be burning incense and bathing, calming the mind and nourishing the energy, sitting upright in front of the table and drawing? Why did great Guru Yi just lean on a corner table and start drawing? And so fast? Faintly, Zheng Little Fatty felt like he could hear the sound of a zither. The sound of the zither was intermittent and did not form a song, but it made him feel as if he was in the forest, relaxed and happy, forgetting everything around him. All right, I'm done. It wasn't until Mu Yan's light voice rang out that Zheng Little Fatty suddenly came back to his senses. Then, Mu Yin slowly walked in front of Zheng Jiaming and handed over the talisman in her hand. She pressed herself against him. The corners of his mouth curled up into a deep arc. I'd like to see whether your baleful Qi is stronger, or my soul-locking talisman is stronger. An hour later, Zheng Little Fatty followed behind his older brother, watching as his older brother respectfully kowtowed to Mu Yin. His heart was filled with joy. Nathaniel Look, the big brother he recognized, was so powerful and awesome. In the past, it was always him who caused trouble, and Big Brother protected him and helped him. Now, he finally had the ability to protect his big brother. Chapter 1480. Zheng Little Fatty chuckled. That was a joke. At that moment, the door was pushed open. Zheng Yuanqing and third elder rushed in after hearing the noise. They could not believe their eyes when they saw Zheng Jiaming, who was standing with his hands behind his back. Jiaming, are you all right? Zheng Yuanqing asked with a hoarse voice. Tears rolled down his cheeks. Zheng Jiaming kneeled on the ground. Father, I have troubled you and Mother during this period of time. It's good that you've recovered. It's good that you've recovered. Zheng Yuanqing stumbled over and helped him up. The third elder came back to his senses and shrieked, Impossible! There are so many people in the azure blue world suffering from the same illness as Jiaming. None of them recovered. How could he have recovered? Zheng Little Fatty glanced at him and smiled with his hands on his waist. That's because the one who treated them was not God Yi. Our great God, Yi only needs one talisman to make a move. He healed Big Brother directly. Zheng Yuanqing blinked. Jiao, you really know the leader of the azure blue world, Yi Liangqin? Of course it's true. I'm Boss Ye's #1 follower. But I spent all my crystals on God Yi during this heavenly light competition. Father, you won't blame me, right? No. Zheng Yuanqing patted his youngest son's shoulder excitedly. You did great. No, it's not good enough. Let's prepare the crystals and send them to God Yi. What God Yi? Did he get cheated? That Yi Liangqin is the most popular person in the Azure Blue world. How could he know a useless person like Jiabao? Third elder wanted to continue, but Zheng Jiaming glanced at him coldly. I think if grandfather knew that Jiabao knew God Yi Liangqin, he would be very happy. Not to mention that God Yi gave Jiabao a mutated grade 4 talisman. That's something that can't be bought outside. As he spoke, Zheng Jiaming signaled with his eyes. Zheng Jiabao immediately took out the mutated grade 4 talisman with Yi Liangqin's special mark. He took it out. It was a defense talisman that could withstand a full blow from a peak golden core powerhouse. Although it was not as heaven-defying as the barrier-breaking talisman, it was still extremely precious. The third elder's eyes widened, and he wished he could immediately snatch it. Zheng Jiaming smiled coldly and said, "That's right. Third elder, you seem to have questioned Guru Ye's medical skills just now. Previously, you even said that Zheng Jiaming shouldn't be associated with riffraff. Since you look down on Guru Yi so much, then in the future, all the talismans that the Zheng family bought from Guru Yi, there's no need to use the third elder's family." What? How could you do this? Why can't I use these talismans? What if God Yi finds out about my talisman? It was used by the person who slandered him. If he is unhappy and breaks off relations with our Zheng family, then grandfather will definitely be even more unhappy. The third elder's face turned ashen and his body swayed. Zheng Jiaming and the others ignored him and took Zheng Jiabao away. Zheng Yuancheng was crying and laughing at the same time. Looking at his two sons, his heart was filled with relief. We'll prepare crystals for Guru Ye's consultation fee tomorrow. Jiaming, you must remember God Ye's great kindness to us this time. Chapter 1481. After saying that, he frowned slightly and looked at his younger brother. Huabao, there's something that I want you to ask God Yi. What is it? Zheng Jiaming, I have some fellow disciples who are suffering like me because they have used the immortal talisman. Can you ask God Yi to save them? I believe that as long as they can live, they will be willing to pay no matter how many crystals it takes. Immortal talisman. Please give me the immortal talisman. I can't stand it. Will please? A skinny man with a face full of snot and tears knelt on the ground and kept kowtowing. Mei Xian condescendingly looked at the embarrassed Mu Yan, and her eyes were full of contempt. Since you can't take out the crystals, why should I keep you? Waste. After that, she pressed one hand on the man's head and urged her demonic power. A steady stream of vitality from the man's body was sucked into Mei Xian's palm. In the blink of an eye, the man had turned into a zombie with only bones and skin, and he fell straight to the ground. Mei Xian raised her hand in disgust, and a black gas wrapped around the man, immediately turning his bones into ashes, leaving only dust on the ground. Cough, cough, cough. The action just now made Mei Xian's soul feel a sharp pain, and she couldn't help coughing violently. As she coughed, she felt something fall off her face. Mei Xian rushed to the mirror and saw Lu Ruochen in the mirror. The originally beautiful face had gradually been covered with black spots, and these spots were still rotten, with pus dripping down. Mei Xian's face was completely distorted. Damn it. Why is there only so many crystals? Not enough. Not enough. If there were more crystals, I could restore 30% of my spirit so that I could possess this body. Since that day when she was expelled from Tingguang ruins and was struck by the heavenly thunder, not only Lu Ruochen, her body and soul were severely damaged. Even Mei Xian was almost destroyed, expelled by a body that did not belong to her. Mei Xian spent a lot of effort, even at the cost of 100 years of cultivation, to suppress Lu Ruochen. Suppressing her resistance, he imprisoned her divine soul and occupied this body for himself. But such a dove occupying a magpie's nest could not last long. Mei Xian must let Lu Ruochen. Only when his soul was destroyed and he truly possessed this body would he be able to survive. Thus, during this period of time, Mei Xian had been using the eternal talismans that the flourishing heavenly light had given to people to use to squeeze out more crystals. The demonic technique she cultivated allowed her to obtain power by directly devouring crystals. Although there would be repercussions, he couldn't care less now. Mei Xian took a deep breath and covered her face with her veil. She couldn't rush it. As long as she had a few tens of thousands of high-grade crystals, she could begin to possess Lu Ruo. My body. At that time, she would only need to absorb a few cauldrons if she wanted to heal a few of them. Mei Xian's eyes shone with pride as she thought of the next person who would pay the crystal stones. Zhu Fugui, the richest man in the Azure Blue realm. For the sake of his silly son, he had already promised to send her the crystal stones in the afternoon. She believed that as long as Zhu Fugui sent her the crystal stones alone, her soul could be completely restored. While Mei Xian was thinking, the door of the room was suddenly slammed open. Then, dozens of people with cultivation above the 9th level of fasting rushed into the room and surrounded Mei Xian. Chapter 1482. The middle-aged man's appearance was mediocre, and his face was covered with grease. At first glance, he looked like a kind and compassionate Maitreya Buddha. But a closer look at his slightly narrowed eyes showed that he was not a kind person. He was Zhu Fugui, the richest man in the Azure Blue world. He was not very strong, but he had a powerful background. His family had a lot of crystal stones. Crystal stones could make the world go round, so the Zhu family had hired countless masters. Ordinary people did not dare to offend him. Mei Xian's eyebrows twitched, and she had a bad feeling. But she forced herself to calm down. Master Zhu, you don't need to bring so many people to buy the immortal talisman. Zhu Fugui waved his hand and said coldly, catch her. Remember, I don't care if her hands and feet are broken or her intestines are broken, but she must be alive. You even dared to plot against my Zhu family, and even dared to harm my Zhu Fugui's son. I think you're tired of living. The masters around her shouted, and were about to surround her. Mei Xian's eyes flashed with panic. Before she was punished by Tingguang ruins, these masters at the Golden Core stage and fasting stage would have been killed. Lu Ruo would have been impeached. But now her soul was unstable. Lu Ruo's body began to collapse, and she could not use her strength at all. Master Zhu, you'd better think carefully. If you really kill me, your silly son will die. However, thinking of the immortal talisman, Mei Xian calmed down again. A confident smile appeared on her face as she slowly said, I'm the only one in the world who can refine that immortal talisman. If I die, your son will turn into a dried corpse in his madness. My death is not to be regretted. Do you want your precious son to die with me? If you think the immortal talisman is too expensive, I can let you pay less crystal stones. Mei Xian thought that Zhu Fugui would panic and hesitate after hearing her words. Unexpectedly, the man just narrowed his eyes and looked at her as if he was looking at a fool. Mei Xian's heart skipped a beat. Then she heard Zhu Fugui say, Young come here. Daddy, you called for me? A rough voice rang out. A slightly chubby young man quickly walked up to Zhu Fugui and revealed a silly smile. This young man was very strange. He clearly looked to be in his 20s, but his words, actions, and eyes made him look like a 3- or 4-year-old child. But when Zhu Fugui saw him, he immediately revealed a gentle and doting expression and patted his head. Mei Xian stared at the man as if she had seen a ghost. Zhu Kuanyong, it was that idiot Zhu Kuanyong. Didn't he use the immortal talisman? Shouldn't he have gone crazy and become as thin as a match? Why didn't it look strange at all? No. Not only was there no abnormality, Zhu Kuanyong even looked much more normal than before. Although he was still stupid, he already had the intelligence of a child. Zhu Fugui looked away from his son and looked at Mei Xian with disdain. Lu Ruo, do you still think that no one can undo your immortality talisman? No, this is impossible. Mei Xian couldn't help screaming. The immortal talisman is mixed with the evil Inchi unique to our Joyous Union sect. No one can remove it in this place. Why? Why can you return to normal? Chapter 1483. Only that person could use a spirit-locking talisman to dispel his bewitching art and baleful aura. Hearing Mei Xian mention Yi Liangchun, Zhu Kuanyong immediately revealed a silly smile. Sister Yi is the best. Sister Yi, if you do this, Ayong won't feel any pain anymore. Father, you have to give Sister Yi a lot of crystal stones. Okay, Daddy will give Sister Yi a lot of crystal stones. Zhu Fugui looked at his son's innocent but clear eyes, and his eyes reddened. After so many years, he had already accepted the fact that his son was a fool. Furthermore, because of the accumulated heat in his body, his son was like a hungry pervert who craved for women. He was extremely filthy. However, he was unable to truly resolve the heat and could only be burned to death bit by bit. It wasn't that Zhu Fugui didn't have any other sons, but he only had this foolish son. He was born to his wife, who had passed away a long time ago. His son had become stupid because his pregnant wife had been burned by the Yin fire in order to save him. In the end, she had died after giving birth to Zhu Kuanyong. Zhu Fugui had always cherished and loved Zhu Kuanyong, but he had long given up hope of curing him. But this time, her son was afflicted with the immortal talisman. She thought that even if she used all the Zhu family's wealth, she would not be able to cure him. Unexpectedly, it was a blessing in disguise. Not only did the eternal talisman on Zhu Chuanyong's body dissolve, he even recovered a portion of his consciousness. Although he was just like a child, he had to grow up bit by bit and accept the world. However, Zhu Fugui's heart was already filled with comfort. He even disregarded his noble status as the richest man in the country and directly knelt in front of the girl. Zhu Fugui wiped away the tears in his eyes and looked at Mei Xian. He smiled like the Mephiah Buddha again and said, "That's right. It was Yi Liangchun who cured my Yong of the immortality talisman and even cured his illness. Moreover, now the entire Tianguang ruins knows that the immortal talisman can be detoxified. As long as you go to the old man is #1 in the world shop to buy a talisman, I will be reborn. Lu Ruo, take a guess. After those people remove the immortal talisman, how will they settle the score with you?" Mei Xian clenched her fists and said, "It's him again. It's Yap again. Why does he ruin my plans every time? Yi Liangchun, just you wait." One day, Yi Liangchun said. Before she could finish her sentence, she suddenly felt a strong gust of wind. Then his entire body was tightly bound. It turned out that Zhu Fugui's men had taken advantage of her being caught off guard to make a move. Mei Xian's expression changed drastically. She gritted her teeth and was about to submit her divine soul to Lu Ruo. "Get out of my body." However, before she could move, the leading high-level gold core cultivator raised his finger, and 8 black nails flew out and pierced into Lu Ruo's body. As soon as the black nails entered his body, there was a sizzling sound of something being burnt. Mei Xian let out a shrill scream. "Ah! Let me out! Let me out!" Zhu Fugui sneered. "Fortunately, great God, you had warned me long ago, saying that you might know the soul-stealing technique, and told me to be careful. That's why I brought this soul-locking nail. Otherwise, wouldn't I have let you escape?" Mei Xian stared at Zhu Fugui and said in a shrill voice, "Do you know who I am? If you dare to kill me, I'll make sure your entire Zhu family dies." Rest assured, Zhu Fugui chuckled. "You dare to do this to my son. How could I let you die so easily?" Chapter 1484. Even though Mei Xian was very knowledgeable and had died once, she was still frightened and panicked at this time. She hid in Lu Ruo's body. She lied to herself that she couldn't come out. Lu Ruo didn't stop it, but she heard it. She didn't stop it, but she could hear it. She could also feel the excruciating pain when the soul-locking nail pierced into her body. Seeing someone coming to pick her up, she cried, "I didn't do it. It's all Mei Xian's doing. It has nothing to do with me. Please forgive me." However, Zhu Fugui had already happily left with Zhu Kuanyong. No one paid any attention to Lu Ruochen. No one listened to Lu Ruo's cries. Lu Ruo? She struggled to take off her veil and showed a charming smile to the cultivator who was escorting her. "Brother, as long as you let me go, I am willing to let you do whatever you want." However, what she waited for was not the man's confusion, but a face of disgust and disgust. "You want me to do whatever I want to you with just this face? Bah, don't be disgusting. Haha, I think this woman is crazy. But we are lucky this time. The whole Azure Blue world is looking for Lu Rua and wants to take revenge." He wanted revenge, but who would have thought that he would be caught by us? Young Master is back to normal. Old Master is in a good mood. Now that we have caught this woman, we will get a lot of rewards when we go back. But it is too easy to catch this woman. Won't the credit be enough? I think we must torture this woman when we bring her back. Old Master will be happy, and maybe he will give us a talisman of God Yi. What about it? If we can get a talisman of God Yi, I can break through my bottleneck. How should we torture her? Why don't we skin her? I think we should slice off the flesh on her hands and feet. That's too clean. I think we should let the rats gnaw it clean. Listening to the unscrupulous discussion of these men, Lu Rua's eyes were filled with fear and despair. Then she felt deep hatred. Then it was followed by a deep hatred. Yi Lianchen. It was all Yi Lianchen's fault. She, Lu Rua, she wouldn't die like this. Even if she died, she would drag Yi Lianchen to hell. When Mu Yin entered the space, she saw that Qi Huang, who had already woken up, was lying on the ground, playing the spirit-peering chess in high spirits. In fact, spirit-peering chess was a rather complicated board game. Although Little Phoenix could barely play, it would be killed by 7 brilliants in less than a quarter of an hour. Therefore, Qi Huang usually disdains to look for the Little Phoenix to play. Otherwise, he would wait for Mayan to return to the space and occasionally play with him. Otherwise, one person would face the chessboard like this, and one person would play the 2 corners. He was clearly so lonely, but he could play with relish for an entire day without getting sick of it. It was even to the extent that he especially treasured the spirit-peering chess. The Little Phoenix would occasionally touch it a few times, and he would get angry. Looking at the scene in front of her, Mu Yin felt a slight sourness in her heart. She did not know why Qi Huang hated humans so much, and why he could not appear in front of people. He would rather die than appear in Diming, in front of them. She only knew that to her, Qi Huang was just a lonely and arrogant child. They were the ones who helped her when she was most helpless and desperate. They were the ones who would always be by her side when she was alone. Chapter 1485. Qi Huang raises his head and looks at her in a bad mood. "You call this sage, so this sage will go over? Who do you think this sage is?" Mu Yin shows a shallow smile. "Give you a gift? Do you think this sage cares about a mere gift? Every time it's not clothes, it's toys, childish." Although he says that, Qi Huang still obediently stands up and walks over to Mu Yin. When he comes in front of her, Mu Yin slowly stretches out her clenched fist towards him, then slowly opens it again. In her palm lies a sparkling and translucent key. The key looks very similar to Mu Yan's Tingguang Ruins jade key, but its appearance and luster are far more beautiful than the jade key. No matter which angle you look at it from, it's overflowing with light, as if it's emitting endless rays of light. Qi Huang blankly looks at Mu Yin, then at the key. "What is this?" "Mu Yin, have you forgotten? I once promised you that I would help you leave this space and let you freely experience the outside world. This is called the Drifting Spirit Fix, and it's the highest level tool in Tingguang Ruins." Qi Huang's pupils slowly contract. His handsome face is dull and silly, as if he can't react at all. Mu Yin continues, "I still don't have the ability to let you walk under the sun, but at least I hope that you can personally touch and feel this virtual world of Tingguang Ruins." Qi Huang's gaze slowly moves from the Drifting Spirit Fix to Mu Yan's face, then from Mu Yan's face to the Drifting Spirit Fix. After a long while, he opens his mouth in a hoarse voice. Why are you so good to me? Just because I'm the tool spirit of the Tian Mo Qin? Can I help you? Can I be used by you?" Mu Yin rolls her eyes, raises her hand, and ruthlessly knocks his forehead. "You still have the nerve to say that? Great tool spirit. Tell me, how much have you helped me since you followed me? and how much trouble have you caused me?" Chi Huang raised his hand in a daze and covered his slightly red forehead. That look is completely different from his usual arrogant appearance. A little fragile, a little dazed, but adorably silly. Mine couldn't help but reveal a gentle smile, softly saying, "It's not because of anything, it's just because you're Chi Huang. You've helped me. You've thought for me. You've done things for me. I'll remember it all in my heart. Perhaps I, your master, am still very weak now and am unable to protect you, nor can I give you a vast world. But one day, I will become strong enough to protect all of you. I will be able to let Little Bao, you little phoenix, Fat Rabbit, and everyone around me be able to live freely in this world without any worries." To others, such a vow would seem like a boastful joke. However, when it came from the mouth of this girl, it was so resolute that people couldn't help but want to believe it and desire it. Mu Yin sees that Chi Huang is still in a daze, and can't help but smile as she shoves the drifting soul's ding into his hands. The moment Seven Brilliance came into contact with the drifting soul seal, it was as if he was scalded and almost flung it away. However, he immediately reacted and grasped it tightly in his palm. "Pretty sister, why can Great Devil Seven Brilliance go to Tingguang Ruins to play? If Qiu doesn't want to do it, Qiu wants to go too." Chapter 1486. Pretty Sister is biased. Pretty Sister doesn't love Qiu anymore. Mu Yin flips her wrist, and another jade key appears in her palm. She leans towards the little phoenix. "Who was it just now that said I was biased? Since Qiu thinks I'm biased, then I'll go sell this jade key for a spiritual pet." Ah! The little phoenix screams and rushes over. It holds the jade key in its mouth and uses its two wings to protect it, refusing to let go. It's Qiu's. Ayo. Qiu also wants to go to Tingguang Ruins to play. Pretty Sister is the best. The little phoenix rushes over and keeps circling around Mu Yin. Mu Yin reaches out and lovingly strokes the little phoenix's beautiful feathers, her eyes full of longing and gratification. Yes, the little phoenix's body has now begun to materialize. This means that Xiaobao's strength is increasing at a flying speed. Therefore, as Xiaobao's contractor, the little phoenix can benefit from this and begin to condense his soul and materialize his body ahead of time. The little phoenix happily rubs against Mu Yin's neck and makes chirping sounds. But remembering what it just said, it cautiously apologizes with guilt. "Pretty sister, Qiu just said the wrong thing. Pretty sister isn't biased. Pretty sister is very good to Qiu. Don't blame Qiu, okay?" The little phoenix knows that Mu Yin gave Chi Huang a gift, but not it because it can always leave the space and go outside to play from time to time. Sometimes, Mu Yin will even personally take it to the street market and let it choose what it likes. But the great demon lord is different. He looks very fierce, very powerful, but also very pitiful. He can only be trapped in this small space every day, unable to leave. Although the little phoenix can't figure out why the great demon lord can't leave. Mu Yin gently strokes the little phoenix's head. "Qiu is the most obedient child. Why would I blame you?" Hearing Mu Yin's assurance, the little phoenix chirps and flies away excitedly. But after flying around, it can't help but fly back. Chi Huang, let's go to Tingguang Ruins to play, okay?" Mu Yin smiles lightly. "I'll wait for you at Tingguang Ruins." She's about to hold the jade key and fall asleep. She hears the youth in red speak. "Jun Mu Yin." Mu Yin turns around to look at him. The corner of Chi Huang's mouth slowly hooks up into a smile. In a split second, that gorgeous face is as brilliant as the spring flowers, and as bright as the stars in the sky. "Jun Mayan, I like." He paused for a moment, clenched the drifting soul fix in his hand, and continued, "I like this gift." It takes a long time for Mayan to recover from Chi Huang's completely different smile. But as he held the jade key and fell asleep, he still had some doubts in his heart. When Seven Brilliant smiled just now, she felt that it was somewhat familiar. Who does she resemble? A light flashed before his eyes, and his spiritual consciousness had already entered the Tingguang Ruins. When she saw the familiar layout of the shop, Mu Yin suddenly had a flash of inspiration. She recalled who Qi Huang's smile resembled earlier. It was Little Martial Uncle. Qi Huang and Little Martial Uncle clearly had completely different appearances and personalities. One was an artifact spirit while the other was a human. But the moment Qi Huang smiled sincerely, she seemed to see the scene of her youngest martial uncle smiling gently at her when she played the zither to send him off. Mu Yin couldn't help but shake her head, wondering if she had been too tired recently and was hallucinating. Chapter 1487. Mu Yin blankly sits in the shop for a while, when she suddenly hears a familiar voice. Yi Liangshan, come out quickly. This Zun can't squeeze into your shop. It's Qi Huang. Mu Yin quickly walks to the outside of Laozi's #1 shop under the heavens. It's always packed with people every day. When Mu Yin appears, these people are excited, but they don't rush over. Instead, they retreat to the side in good order. But they all call, Great God Yi. Mu Yin has no time to care about other things. She looks at them one by one, but she can't find Qi Huang and Little Phoenix. As she's puzzled, she sees a burly man with bulging muscles walk in front of her and waves his hand in front of her eyes. I say, June? I say, Yi Liangshan, what are you looking at? Isn't the Zun here? Mu Yin sluggishly looks at the burly man in front of her, her lips trembling. Qi Huang? Who else besides this Zun? Why are you so stupid? You can't even recognize me. I recognize you at a glance. Mu Yin, what do you mean I can't recognize you? You've become like this. It would be strange if I could recognize you. Pretty sister, I'm here too. Mu Yin hasn't calmed down from the chaos and the wind when she sees a colorful chicken landing in front of her with a bang. Pretty sister, I'm Qiuqiu. Does my new body look good? I spent a long time to set up Qiuqiu. I'm really tired to death. These colorful hairs are hard to draw. Pretty sister, is Qiuqiu as beautiful as you? Mu Yin's mouth gapes for a long time before she reluctantly squeezes out 2 words. Pretty bright. The burly man Qi Huang slaps Little Phoenix away and says impatiently, Go to the side. No matter how beautiful you are, can you be as handsome and mighty as this Zun? How about it? Isn't this Zun's new image particularly awe-inspiring and charming? Have you been captivated by this Zun? Mu Yin holds her forehead. This time, she really can't even say handsome. No wonder Qi Huang keeps calling Little Martial Uncle a pretty boy, and even said that he's ugly. It turns out that his aesthetic is so distorted. And the most hateful thing is that even Little Phoenix's aesthetic has been led astray by this brat. Mayan is speechless as she looks up at the sky. Then, he saw the name above Qi Huang's head. Long Ritian. Mu Yin turns her head. Forget it. She wasn't surprised at all. 1 point. All. No. Will. Outside. All right. Fushi's secret realm. Xiao Bao slashed away the vines in front of him. The spiritual power in his body surged, and the evil warding sword emitted a dazzling light. In an instant, it automatically flew out and chopped the vines into pieces. However, the black broken branches and leaves did not disappear. Instead, they were completely absorbed by the Bixia sword. With a twirl, the sword returned to Xiao Bao's hand. Then, Xiao Bao heard the noisy voice again. Ah, I can finally speak again. Damn, kid, you're too amazing. It only took you a few days to devour so much energy for me. I thought I'd only be able to be a sawtooth gourd for 1.5 years. Chapter 1488. Judging from your voice, you should still be young. Are you 15 or 16? Underage. What can you do outside? Find a woman for you to hug. You won't understand the feeling of ecstasy. Why don't you stay in the Fushi's secret realm with me? I promise you 3 years, 3 years at most, and I will let you leave this Fushi's secret realm. By then, you will be the best of the best. You can pick up girls, spend money, and act cool as you please. Isn't that better? And with your current strength, you won't be able to destroy the secret realm and leave. This is the Fushi Secret Realm. The Fushi Secret Realm. You want to destroy the Fushi Secret Realm? Ha! It's been a long time since I've heard someone boast like this. Do you know how many nascent soul and leaving body stage experts were thrown down here to feed the demonic plants and beasts to corrode the evil warding sword? When they came down, they were filled with righteous indignation, thinking that they would definitely be able to leave. But in the end, didn't they all die here? If it wasn't for the evil warding sword protecting you, you would have been torn apart by those demonic plants and beasts. Sigh. I was too proud back then, refusing to acknowledge others as my master, who knew I would never get another chance like this again. Now, I'm actually reduced to signing a master-servant contract with you, a kid in the Anidia stage. People's hearts aren't what they used to be, and the world is so cold. Pa! Xiaobao couldn't take it anymore and threw the evil warding sword. The fat rabbit leaped and landed on the sword. It twisted its butt and farted. Then a pile of feces landed on the evil warding sword. Ah, you fat rabbit. You are courting death. Do you believe I won't roast you and make you into stir-fried rabbit meat? Stinky, stinky, hurry up and clean the feces off me. The fat rabbit looked at it with disdain, rubbed its butt on the grass, and leaped back to Xiaobao's side. Xiaobao ignored the evil warding sword's cries and turned to leave. Ayo, 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 master, master. Don't leave me behind. Damn it. Now that we're out of the seal barrier, without the protection of the slave contract, the evil warding sword would be corroded by the demonic chi in the Fushi Secret Realm. The evil warding sword would be corroded by the demonic chi in the Fushi Secret Realm and would no longer be able to resist. As for the consciousness of its so-called artifact spirit, it would be directly obliterated. Bai Xie wiped the sword clean obediently and hopped to Xiaobao. Master, please take me in. Master, please don't abandon me. Xiaobao looked at him coldly. Too noisy, Bai Xie said pitifully. It's because I can't talk for a long time, and there's no one to talk to. It's so boring. Fine, fine, fine. I'll shut up. I'll shut up. But master, can I say one more thing? Xiaobao said, speak. The fat rabbit let out another fart, using its actions to express. If you have something to say, then say it. If you have something to fart, hurry up and fart. Bai Xie suddenly remembered the fear of being glued to the sword by his daddy. He shivered and quickly said, Master, do you really want to destroy this Fushi Secret Realm? Xiaobao nodded without hesitation. I want to go to Mother's side. She's looking for me. Bai Xie hesitated for a moment and said, There is only one way to destroy the Fushi Secret Realm and leave this place. But master, with your current prowess, it is impossible. How about this? Let me train you for a year, and I guarantee that after a year, there's an 80% chance of you getting out. Okay? What is it? Chapter 1489. Xiaobao turned and was about to leave. Hey, 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 little ancestor, I'll tell you. Bai Xie quickly hopped up to Zhongyu and said, This Fushi Secret Realm may be a secret realm, but it's actually a huge array formation. With the 64 Fushi gods as the core of the array formation, the demonic plants and demonic beasts in the Fushi Secret Realm will grow stronger and stronger. Blood and slaughter, as well as the pain, despair, hatred, and other negative emotions of the living beings, will cause the Yin Qi in the Fushi Grand Array to grow and corrode the Bai Xie Sword's defenses until the Bai Xie Sword can be controlled by the normal cultivators of this cultivation continent. If you want to destroy the Fushi Secret Realm, you have to destroy the Fushi Grand Array's core. Xiaobao quickly asked, Where is the core? Bai Xie shook the sword. I don't know either, but I know that the Fushi Grand Array's core must be nourished by the Snow Domain Red Lotus. And the place where the Snow Domain Red Lotus grows the most should be very close to the core. What does the Snow Domain Red Lotus look like? Bai Xie quickly described it to Chu Feng. A flower with only a stem and no leaves. And on the flower petals and stem, there are silver patterns. Xiaobao widened his deep blue eyes and looked at the fat rabbit. His little hands clenched tightly. His eyes were filled with excitement. I know where the Snow Domain Red Lotus is. It was the flower that he and the fat rabbit saw when they first fell into the secret realm. The fat rabbit also ate quite a lot of that flour, and its strength increased a lot. Bai Xie thought that even if he told the little master, he wouldn't be able to find the snow domain Red Lotus. After all, this Fushi secret realm is so big, but the snow domain Red Lotus is very rare. It's not that easy to find it. But the little master actually said he knows where it is. Isn't this too strange? Could it be that he was going to die just as he recognized a talented master? Xiao Bao didn't care about Bai Xie's thoughts. He carried the giant Bai Xie sword and quickly headed in a direction. The fat rabbit immediately bounced up and followed her. Mother, wait for Xiao Bao. Xiao Bao will be able to find you soon. Night. Mu Yin was sleeping soundly when suddenly the entire Yao Guang faculty shook. She sprang up from the bed. Placing his hand on his chest, he could feel the astral domain in his body stirring. Mu Yin is startled at first, then she remembers something and happily rushes out. All the people in the Yaoguang branch woke up at this moment. However, there was one less person standing in the small square: Yun Ruhan and Lung Yuma. Mu Yin hurriedly arrived beside Chu Moli and the others, suppressing the excitement in her heart. Did eldest senior brother and fourth senior sister activate their domains? Chu Moli smiled and nodded. Luo Yu was already dancing excitedly at the side. Big senior brother and fourth senior sister are really too amazing. They actually activated the domain. I heard that in the entire Starry School, only 2 or 3 people from the Tianshu Institute, led by Ouyang Qing, have a domain. Ling Yuxing's expression changed slightly, and then he said with pride, even Ouyang Qing only activated his domain after the age of 25, but eldest senior brother and fourth senior sister already have domains before the age of 25. She's only slightly inferior to junior sister. Qin Jiu, eldest senior brother, fourth senior sister, is amazing. Chapter 1490. Don't just be happy for big brother and fourth sister. Think about how to pass the test in front of the 2 mentors tomorrow. Hearing Chu Moli's reminder, the joy on the faces of Luo Yu and the others turns into horror. It's over. Tomorrow is a month, and I haven't activated my domain yet. I'm definitely dead. Little sister, help. Is there any talisman? Can it directly activate our domain? Mu Yin puts her hand on her forehead. This kind of talisman? How could it be? In fact, a month ago, the 2 mentors gave everyone in the Xiaoyao school except Mu Yin a task. It was to activate their own domain within a month. However, on the Xiujin continent, there were very few people who could activate their domain before the age of 50. There were even fewer people who could activate their domain before the age of 30. It was easier said than done to activate one's domain within a month. Today was the end of the 1-month period. Mu Yin thought that it was impossible for her fellow apprentices to activate their domain. She was still thinking about how to ask Di Ming for them. He pleaded with little martial uncle, but he didn't expect eldest martial brother and fourth martial sister to succeed. As they're talking, they see 2 figures descending from the sky. One is as tall as a pine tree, handsome as a god, high and aloof, making people want to worship him. The other was elegant like a piece of jade, dazzling and unadorned. Her beauty was unique, and it would cause anyone who saw her to be captivated. It's Mentor Mo and Junior Uncle. As they descend from the sky, they unconsciously look at Mu Yin, but they suddenly seem to notice something, and their eyes meet. Luo Yunxiao quickly looks away. Di Ming? He goes straight to Mu Yan's side and pulls her into his embrace. Mu Yin is a little happy. Didn't you say that you would be very busy these days? Di Ming? He takes her into his arms and smells her fragrance. His suppressed longing suddenly surges up. He really wants to take Yin Yin back and lock her by his side so that she can never leave his sight. However, this thought only lasted for a second before Di Ming stopped him. It is suppressed by Di Ming. He wants Mu Yin to be happy. He hopes that Mu Yin can become stronger and stronger so that she can stand by his side as an equal and respectable person, instead of being looked down upon and treated as a subordinate. Di Ming? He glanced at the room in disdain before slowly saying, although he's not very pleasing to my eyes, he's still your fellow disciple. Since he can activate his domain within a month, he's barely teachable. So Diming? He and little martial uncle had come because they sensed eldest senior brother and fourth senior sister's breakthrough in their domains. Muyin couldn't help but find it funny. They speak so arrogantly, but in fact, these two people still have their eyes on the students of Yawang branch. It was just like how the youngest martial uncle treated him, who had inherited his swordsmanship, as his disciple. Diming? In fact, he had taken these people from the Xiaorao sect as his own students. The door creaked open. Yun Ruhan and Lung Yumal walked out. Both of them were completely drenched in sweat, and their faces were filled with exhaustion. However, his eyes were filled with the flames of ecstasy. Seeing the two mentors, Yun Ruhan and Lung Yumal, immediately knelt down and kowtowed respectfully. His face was filled with sincere gratitude. They all knew very well that if the two mentors hadn't used their own domain as a guide to let them enter the real world, they wouldn't have been able to experience it in real life. Even if they were talented, they would need at least 3 to 5 years to successfully activate their domain. Chapter 1491. The two of them quickly obeyed the order. This time, Mu Yin could feel it at close range. Grand Senior Brother's domain was as calm as the sea, but it also had a sense of resilience. On the other hand, Fourth Senior Sister's domain was blazing like fire. It was like a raging wave. However, it was obvious that Grand Senior Brother's domain belonged to the 9 planets Taiyin, which was the same as Luo Yunxiao. Fourth Senior Sister's domain belonged to the 9 planets Taiyang. They were the same. Luo Yunxiao and Diming? They didn't say much. They each condensed a crystal bead and threw it to them. These were the domain cores that the two of them condensed. They contained countless domain laws. As long as Yun Ruhan and the others slowly understood them, their domains would naturally become stronger. Muyin also had one each, but it didn't help much in leveling up her domain. Her domain seemed to have its own style. It couldn't belong to the 9 planets Taiyin or the 9 planets Taiyang, but it could merge with all the domain laws in the world. It could even swallow other people's domains. Yun Ruhan and Lung Yuma carefully and excitedly kept the crystal beads. Luo Yu and the others were both envious and ashamed as they watched from the side. Grand Senior Brother and Fourth Senior Sister could activate their domains in a month, but they didn't. They let down their teacher's expectations. In the future, little martial uncle and teacher Mo would not care about them anymore. Mu Yin saw Luo Yu's long eyelashes droop. Her face was full of loneliness. Her cute dimples disappeared. She couldn't help but pull Diming. Diming, Diming? She snorted and said, "The remaining 4 of you might not be able to activate your domains. But when Yun Ruhan and Lung Yuma activated their domains, you were able to grasp the domain laws. You didn't slack off this month." Luo Yunxiao said, "At most, the 4 of you will be able to activate your domains in another 3 to 5 months. When Luo Yu and the others heard this, they suddenly raised their heads. At this moment, the sadness in their eyes turned into anticipation and hope. "So, Junior Uncle, Teacher Mo, you didn't give up on us?" Diming? He sneered. "However, if we didn't accomplish our goal in a month, we didn't accomplish our goal. You can avoid death, but you can't escape punishment." Luo Yunxiao said, "Tonight, you will enter the great illusionary land and experience the 7 sufferings of life. Diming? Mountains of blades, seas of fire, extreme cold. I believe you will experience it very happily." Muyin, why are these two people unexpectedly in tune with each other on this matter? Luo Yu and the other 3 felt their vision go black, and they almost fainted. Even Chu Moli couldn't maintain his perverted smile. Lung Yuma put her hands on her hips and laughed without any sympathy. "Xiao Qi, remember to tell us about your feelings after experiencing the mountain of blades and the sea of flames." However, before she could finish laughing, Diming, he looked over with a faint gaze. "From today onwards, you will compete with Yun Ruhan once every month. If you lose, you will lose face for the 9 glory suns. He, you will definitely experience something 100 times more terrifying than a mountain of blades, a sea of flames, or an extreme cold. Quack! Lung Yuma's laughter stopped abruptly. The gloating look on his face turned into horror. Luo Yunxiao's expression was still gentle, but her words almost caused Yun Ruhan to stumble and fall to the ground. If you lose, then stay in the Thousand Ghost Sword formation for a month and don't come out. Chapter 1492. After that, Luo Yunxiao said she had something to do and left. Di Mingju only left a great illusionary land for punishment and left. Before leaving, he held Mu Yin in his arms and said softly, "In the next few days, I will return to the Xiuxing continent. But Yin, when you need me, I will definitely return to your side." Mu Yin smiled and nodded. I know. She had always known how much this man doted on and protected her. Even though he had so many things to do, even though he was in dire straits and in danger, the first thing he considered was always his own safety. Mu Yin reached out and hugged Di Mingju's waist. She said softly against his chest, "Di Mingju, I will continue to grow stronger. I only hope that one day I can protect Xiaobao and the important people around him. Also, she must be worthy of your wife's status." Di Mingju's body suddenly stiffened. Joy and sweetness flowed from the corners of his eyes. Mu Yin rarely expressed her feelings to him so directly. That was why this simple sentence of "be worthy of your wife" was so precious. However, he didn't say anything in the end. He just lowered his head and kissed her deeply. Since activating the territory, Yun Ruhan's cultivation had completely reached the great completion of Anidia. Because of the accumulation, he was only one step away from the golden elixir when he just reached the great completion of Anidia. Since Mu Yan's cultivation had reached the great completion of Anidia, she had been cultivating the perfect gold elixir. However, all perfect advancements could multiply one's strength by several times after the advancement. However, it was extremely difficult to break through to the next level. That was why Mu Yin still hadn't reached the core formation realm. But thinking that her senior brother was about to form his core, Mu Yin still took out the Encyclopedia of Elementary Alchemy. As expected, there was the method to make the golden elixir. Hearing that Mu Yin was going to make the golden elixir for Yun Ruhan, the people from the Alcade branch were extremely excited. They were all eager to help Mu Yin find the spiritual herbs needed for the elixir. However, they went to all the pharmacies in the towns around the Starry School, but only found 1/3 of the spiritual herbs. One of the shopkeepers saw that they were wearing the Starry School uniform and could not help but remind them, "If you want to know where in the azure blue world has the most spiritual medicine, it would definitely be the treasure warehouse of the 3 schools, the glittering jewel warehouse." Furthermore, the spirit medicines and magic treasures in the glittering jewel warehouse can only be exchanged with the Academy's points. We outsiders can't even buy them, even if we want to. Since you are students of the Starry School, why don't you go to the glittering jewel warehouse? Why are you giving up on what's close at hand and seeking what's far away? What? Glittering jewel warehouse? What's that? Luo Yu, Lung Yuma, Ling Yuxing, and Qin Jiu quickly returned to the school of the Emperor's Star in the Starry School. After asking around, they found out that there was indeed a treasure exchange office called Linlang Warehouse. Furthermore, there were people entering and exiting the glittering jewel warehouse every day. It was extremely lively. It was a place where the other 6 faculties would definitely come. However, because the Alcade branch was isolated from the rest of the world and they didn't have any teachers or supervisors, they didn't know about this place. Once they entered the glittering jewel warehouse, Luo Yu and the rest widened their eyes, their intestines turning green. Because this place was really big, there was almost everything in it. Moreover, many of them were things that couldn't be bought from other shops. Chapter 1493. Luo Yu rubbed her hands. "Quick, let's go and ask them how we can earn a lot of points in the shortest amount of time." The points they had now were the pitiful 2 or 3 points they had accumulated from attending public classes. In this glittering jewel warehouse, one could not even exchange for a normal dagger. If they had known that points were so useful, they would have earned them earlier. It was actually quite easy to earn points in the Starry School. Within the hall of the glittering jewel warehouse, there were all sorts of missions. Some of them were here to collect spirit herbs and spirit beast materials. Some were here for medicinal pills, and some were here to be escorted to the mystic realm for adventures. The higher the level of the mission, the more difficult it was to complete. Naturally, the more points one could earn. However, just as Luo Yu and the others were about to accept a high-rank mission, the deacon of Linlang Song took the jade tokens they handed over, but only glanced at them indifferently. You can't accept these missions. Why? Luo Yu asked suspiciously. The missions are hung in the main hall. Aren't they meant for people to accept? We have the ability to complete it. Why don't you let us take it? The deacon looked them up and down and suddenly sneered. Not only can you not accept most of the high-level missions here, but the price of the treasures here is also several times more expensive than the people from the other branches. I advise you to quickly leave the glittering jewel warehouse. This isn't a place for people like you, who are ranked at the bottom of the rankings, to enter. Fuck. What do you mean? Lung Yuma was immediately angered. Why can't we take on the mission and buy treasures at a higher price than others? We are all students of the Starry School. Why are you being unfair to us? Who asked you to be the weakest all-Cade institution? A mocking voice came from the side. A bunch of country bumpkins? You've been in the Starry School for so long, yet you still don't even know about the glittering jewel warehouse and the school's point system. The one who spoke was a student from the Alioth branch. His companion immediately echoed. There are only 2 or 3 people in the all-Cade branch. Even the people from the Academic Supervisory Board never go there. Although the 2 distinguished professors are there in name, in fact, they don't even show up once every 10 days or half a month. I'm afraid that they go to the all-Cade branch just for the peace and quiet. What do you expect them to know about trash from the foot of the mountain? The people around him burst into laughter. He was full of contempt and disdain towards Luo Yu and the others. These people from the all-Cade branch were fighting against Luo Yunxiao and Di Ming. He had been in the limelight for a while, when he came to work at the school and when Ling Long was willing to carry out the mission. But it was only for a short while. In fact, the ones who were truly outstanding and respected were the 2 teachers and the current leader of the Azure Sky sect, Yap Liangchun. As for the students from the all-Cade branch, they had already been forgotten and looked down upon by everyone. Lung Yuma raised her eyebrows, her eyes filled with killing intent. Who are you calling trash? As he spoke, the laws of his domain faintly leaked out. The surrounding people immediately felt their nerves tighten and faintly felt a chill run down their spines. Even the deacon of the glittering jewel warehouse looked at Lung Yuma with surprise. However, it didn't take long before the deacon spoke in a stern voice. What are you doing? Do you want to cause trouble in Linlang warehouse? Lung Yuma snorted and retracted her aura. Chapter 1494. Why are you showing off in front of us? This is the school's rule to distribute resources to the true experts and elites. If you want to exchange for the items in the glittering jewel warehouse, go participate in the Tri-School tournament in a month if you have the ability. Tri-School tournament? Luo Yu repeated in confusion. My God, they don't even know about the Tri-School tournament, the most important event in Starry School. Can they be any more ignorant? Who asked them to stay in the Yao Guang branch every day, that crappy place? Ever since Sir Yun Xiao and Tutor Mo left, even the dogs don't want to go there. Huh? Are you saying that they are worse than dogs? Lung Yuma clenched her fists silently, making cracking sounds. The mocking laughter instantly lessened. An honest-looking Migres branch disciple said, the Tri-School tournament is held once a year, also known as the Jasper Forest Gathering. To the students of the 3 schools, getting good results in the Jasper Forest Gathering is more important than getting on the Azure Cloud leaderboard. However, the Azure Cloud leaderboard represents individual glory, while the Jasper Forest Gathering represents the branch and even the entire Starry School's glory. It turned out that the Jasper Forest Gathering referred to the Lingwu, Starry, and Fengtian schools. Every year, each school would choose an elite team to participate in the Tri-School tournament. The top 3 teams would receive the opportunity to go to the Ziyun World's Dragon Soaring School to participate in the Deer Cry Banquet. That opportunity was the dream of all cultivators, the cloud-climbing stairway. Even in the Deer Cry Banquet, all the light was suppressed by the geniuses of the Dragon Soaring School. However, they could enjoy the best spiritual food in the cultivation continent, obtain the pills that others dreamed of, and receive pointers from nascent soul and even astral projection cultivators. Even if they could not get into the top 3, as long as they performed well in the Jasper Forest gathering and ranked high enough. From then on, the school's ranking would be higher. The school's ranking was very important to the students. For example, Tianshu branch students only needed 30 points to buy a stalk of 5 yellow grass. However, the people from the Alcade branch needed 100 points to enter. As for the other resources, it was even less worth mentioning. Ling Yuxing frowned and said, "Since every branch has to participate in the Tri-Academy tournament, why didn't our Alcade branch receive the notice?" Haha, what's there to inform? Don't you know that the Tri-Academy tournament is a team competition? There are 10 people in one group, and they also need to prepare some substitutes. Can your Alcade branch gather 10 people? A division that can't even gather 10 people. If I were the Starry School, I wouldn't have informed you either. That's right. The other super monasteries have already started their selections. They're picking out the most powerful students from all the other super monasteries. Every day, they're fighting like a raging fire. How could they be as free as some trash? At this time, the people of Alioth branch once again recovered their arrogance. He raised his head and said, "If you want to accept high-level missions in exchange for elixirs here, then if you have the ability, you can also participate in the 3 Academy tournament and raise your Academy's ranking." Oh, I forgot. Some people don't even have the qualifications to participate in the competition. Ha ha ha. Chapter 1495. But at this time, a clear and pleasant female voice, like the sounds of nature, comes from the door. Who said we are not qualified to participate in the 3 Academy competition? Everyone instinctively turns around to look, and for a moment, everyone is stunned. They see a girl wearing a lake blue dress coming from the door. She doesn't have any accessories on her body, and there's no makeup on her white, jade-like face. But at this time, slowly walking into the glittering jewel warehouse, under the sunlight, it almost makes people's breathing stop. Because the girl's appearance is too beautiful, too beautiful. Her peach blossom eyes are rippling, gentle and shallow, as if they contain infinite temptation. However, that carefree expression and slender and elegant demeanor set off the elegance and otherworldliness of an orchid in an empty valley. The entire mission hall is quiet for a moment, until Luo Yu's joyful voice is heard. "Sixth sister, why are you here?" Mine walks up to him, smiling and touching his head. "I just passed by after a public class." She didn't expect to encounter someone bullying the people of the Alcade branch. After comforting Luo Yu, Mine's gaze turns to the administrator of the glittering jewel warehouse. The Jasper Forest Association only stipulates that 10 people can participate in the competition, but there's no rule that less than 10 people can't participate, right? Not to mention 7 people. As long as the branch agrees, even if one person wants to participate, there's no rule against it, right? The administrator frowns. "So what if we participate? The 7 of you against 10 practitioners from the other branches. You won't even have a place to rotate. Do you still want to win?" Mine slightly raises her eyebrows, leisurely saying, "Whether we can win or not is our business. There's no need for the administrator to worry about it. I only ask, does our Alcade branch have the qualifications to participate in the 3 Academy competition?" Before Mine came in, she had already inquired about it. The registration place for the Jasper Forest Association is at the glittering jewel warehouse. Only the people who can register are the deans of the major branches. But the problem is that the Alcade branch doesn't have a dean, so the position of dean was given to Di Ming by the flattering Diu Dao. And Di Ming? Before he left, he directly transferred all the authority to her. The administrator angrily says, "Participate what participate? Are you in charge of the registration, or am I in charge of the registration?" If there aren't 10 people, you can't participate. The surrounding people immediately laughed in agreement. They want to participate in the Jasper Forest gathering with just 7 people. Aren't they embarrassing our starry school? Exactly. Did they still think they were Almighty Yi or Senior Oyang? 1 against 10? Huh? Mayan slightly narrows her eyes, about to speak. Suddenly, a woman's cold voice came from behind him. The Jasper Forest Guild has never had a rule that only 10 people can participate. If I remember correctly, many years ago, there was a super monastery that only had 8 people participate, but in the end, it became world famous. When Mu Yin turns around and sees the person, she raises her eyebrows in surprise. It turned out to be an acquaintance, Hua Xiangrong. Since the last time he fought with her in front of the Linglong Tower, Hua Xiangrong had completely disappeared. There had been no news of him for the past few months. It was said that he had been in seclusion all this time, swearing to avenge himself. He didn't expect to come out now. Was it to participate in the Tri-Academy tournament? Mu Yin looked at the momentum around her and found that compared with a few months ago, Hua Xiangrong's cultivation had risen a lot. Moreover, it wasn't a false increase after taking the flourishing elixir. Chapter 1496. Seeing that it was Hua Xiangrong who spoke, those who were angry immediately felt relieved. Anyone who had seen this year's admission ceremony would know that people from Inyu Palace and Yawang Branch were not on good terms. Even now, Hua Xiangrong's sister Hua Biyue was completely disabled, which was all caused by people from Yawang Branch. Even if Hua Xiangrong spoke for anyone, she would not speak for people from Yawang Branch. Junior sister Hua, you don't know that the 8 participants were all experts, but Yawang Branch is nothing. They're just a bunch of trash that no other branch wants. If we let them sign up for the competition, won't our starry school lose face in front of the other 2 schools? Hua Xiangrong walked to Mu Yin expressionlessly. She just looked at her quietly, and then turned to look at the person who spoke. In the admission ceremony, the performance of Inyu Palace was not as good as the 7 people from Yawang Branch. You said they are trash. Are you saying that our Inyu Palace is also trash? This time, everyone was dumbfounded. Hua Xiangrong was actually speaking for people from Yawang Branch. Hua Xiangrong, is there something wrong with your brain? Those people from Yawang Branch have always been against you. Why are you speaking for them now? Hua Xiangrong sneered and said, I'm just stating the facts. I never spoke for anyone. But you were so afraid of people from Yawang Branch. Are you afraid that you will be trampled by those trash and lose face? Are you kidding? How can we be worse than a bunch of trash? That's right. Just wait and see. The elites of my heavenly Jade branch will definitely trample this group of garbage under their feet. Mu Yan's heart is indescribably surprised. She did not expect that Hua Xiangrong would speak for her, and her combat ability was so strong that she could defeat all of them alone. Mu Yan smiled and turned to look at the administrator. The administrator said with a cold face, even if you want to sign up for the Qianlin Association, you need the Dean of Yawang Branch to come in person and activate it with the Identity Jade token. Yawang Branch doesn't even have a Dean. Why do you need to sign up? Mu Yin casually threw it as if it was the most common thing. The Identity Jade token of the Dean you mentioned, is it this? The administrator of Linlang Warehouse opened his eyes wide and looked at her in disbelief. How did this little girl get the Identity Jade token of the branch principal? That Jade token couldn't be picked up or snatched. Only when the owner of the Jade token personally authorized it and bound it to his soul could the transfer be successful. The deacon remembered that Headmaster Zhai had given the token of the Alcade branch to Teacher Mo. But how could Teacher Mo give such an important Jade token to a student, a little girl? Mayan curls her fingers and gently taps the table. Now, can you put me in the list? If you're still unwilling, then I can only look for Teacher Mo and personally talk to you. The deacon shuddered at the thought of that powerful man who was as handsome as a god. Even though he was infuriated, he still took the token and recorded the 7 names on it. As the other schools were still in the selection stage, the Alcade School became the first team from the Starry School to register for the 3 schools tournament. Moreover, it was an unprecedented seven-man team. Chapter 1497. Mu Yin registered her name and waved her hand. Let's go. Sixth senior sister is awesome. Let's go back to prepare for the Qianglin gathering. However, they were stopped by someone after a few steps. Jun Mu Yin, wait a minute. Mu Yin saw Hua Xiangrong walking towards her with a cold face and could not help but raise her eyebrows. Anything else? Hua Xiangrong was silent for a while, with a suspicious blush on her face. I want to ask you about a person. Seeing Hua Xiangrong, who had always been arrogant and cold, showed such a delicate look like a little girl. Mu Yin could not help shuddering, and then she felt a little unhappy. Is Hua Xiangrong still coveting Diming? Right? Humph. Junshang really has a lot of peach blossoms. Mu Yan's heart was full of jealousy. However, what Hua Xiangrong said next almost made her stagger. Do you know where to find Yi Liangchen? Leng Yuma raised her eyebrows. Why are you looking for Yi Liangchen? Do you want to take revenge on him? Hua Xiangrong bit her lips, with more shyness in her eyes. No, I just want to thank him. After a pause, Hua Xiangrong continued. That day in front of the Linglong Tower, I fell into the devil barrier. Thanks to Yi Liangchen, I woke up. I understand his feelings for me and his expectations for me. That's why I've been working hard to cultivate these days. I hope I won't let him down for me. Now, even Ling Yusheng, who was innocent, could see the friendship between Hua Xiangrong and Yi Liangchen. They looked at each other and then turned their eyes to Mu Yin. Then they all burst out laughing. Mu Yan's face was about to turn blue. Fuck. I don't have expectations and feelings for this woman. She tried hard to suppress the anger in her heart and said, Why are you looking for Yi Liangchen? When it came to the main topic, Hua Xiangrong immediately restrained the affection on her face and said seriously, That day, after Yi Liangchen reached the top of the exquisite list, he made the exquisite vow not so much to expel Wei Tianming, but to protect Yaoguang branch. Because the timing is just too coincidental. Additionally, in order to find Yi Liangchen, I even asked those people who had seen Yi Liangchen these days. They told me that when they saw Yi Liangchen for the first time, Yi Liangchen was renting an airboat towards Yaoguang branch. Although you don't want to admit it, I guess Yi Liangchen must have some connection with your Alcade Branch Institute. Mayan Liu and the others. When this woman wasn't crazy, her logic was terrifyingly meticulous. Until now, so many people had been looking for Yi Liangchen, but no one had thought that Yi Liangchen might be related to the Alcade institution. Mu Yin can be considered to have stabilized her emotions. However, Hua Xiangrong still caught the surprise on Luo Yu and the others' faces. As expected, you guys know who Yi Liangchen is. There was an urgent look in Hua Xiangrong's eyes. Can you please tell me where he is? I just want to see him once. The corner of Luo Yu's mouth twitched. You also know that Yap Liangchun has been hiding his identity. Naturally, he doesn't want to meet outsiders. I think you'd better not waste your energy looking for it. Luo Yu emphasized the word outsider. Chapter 1498. I know. He is afraid that I will be implicated if he sees me. Please tell him that I know his painstaking efforts, and I will never misunderstand him. As she spoke, tears flashed in Hua Xiangrong's eyes, but they were full of firmness. But even so, I will always wait for him. And please tell him that he is not alone. There is a person who will support him silently and trust him wholeheartedly. After that, Hua Xiangrong turned around and left without waiting for Mu Yin and the others to respond. Her back was indescribably lonely and proud, but with resolute gentleness. There was a dead silence around Mu Yin and the others. After a while, Luo Yu coughed softly. Sixth senior sister, I envy you so much. You have such a confidant. Although he said those words of envy, as long as one looked carefully at the corner of his mouth, one would know that he could not suppress his gloating smile. Puff ha! Leng Yumal laughed without hesitation. I wonder how Hua Xiangrong will react when she knows that Yi Liangchen is the little junior sister. Even Ling Yuxing also said with a smile, shouldn't she want to know how Instructor Mo will react when he knows that his admirer has fallen in love with the little junior sister? He. Instructor Mo will definitely go crazy. Our Yaowang branch should not be drowned by the sea of jealousy. Mu Yin held her forehead, ignored these guys who wanted to see the world in chaos, and turned around to leave. Haha, she was wrong. Shouldn't she be angry that Hua Xiangrong coveted Di Ming? Yes. Instead of letting Hua Xiangrong change her target to her, why not let her continue to like Di Ming? Yes. Mu Yin and the others returned to Yaowang branch happily and told Yun Ruhan and Chu Moli that they would participate in the 3 Academy competition. Yun Ruhan, who had just stimulated the field, was eager to have a try. Chu Moli smiled gently. It's good to have a competition with the experts of the other academies. Seeing his gentle smile, the people of the Xiaoyao school could not help but shiver. Are you sure it's a competition? Good. Not someone who can be played by you? Good. Su Zi grabbed Mu Yan's clothes and said regretfully, it's a pity that I'm not a real student of the Yaowang branch. Otherwise, I would be able to fight alongside you. Mayan smiles and glances at him. Are you sure you want to fight with us and not be a burden to us? Forget it. When I cure your heart disease, you'll have the chance to show off. In the past, Su Zi was most afraid of being seen as a burden or a piece of trash. But when these words come out of Mu Yan's mouth, he only feels relaxed. It was as if his illness wasn't a big deal, and he didn't need to avoid it. Su Zi smiled foolishly, looking like a pure and innocent teenager. The tear mole under his left eye sparkled. Just as Mu Yin is about to reach out and touch his head, her face suddenly changes. Little junior sister, what's wrong? Why is your face so pale? Mu Yan's hand clutches her chest tightly. Under everyone's worried gazes, she only says, I'm fine, and rushes back to her room. As soon as she enters the bedroom, Mu Yan doesn't care if the door is locked or not, and directly enters the space. Qiu, is that Xiao Bao? Did something happen to Xiao Bao? At that moment, she felt the piercing pain and the premonition that the mother and son were connected. She knew clearly that something had happened to her Xiao Bao. Chapter 1499. Over the past year, although Mu Yin missed Xiao Bao, although she was also in pain, she at least knew that her baby was safe and sound. But at this moment, the pain from Xiao Bao's body made her unable to calm down. However, Xiao Qiu did not answer her, but let out a low moan. Usually, the fiery red little phoenix was overflowing with colorful lights, but right now, the luster on its body was completely dim. The body that was originally a corpse is slowly fading, as if it would be blown away by the wind at any time. Hearing Mu Yan's call, the little phoenix raised its head, its round red eyes flowing with crystal-clear liquid. Beautiful sister, save little brother. You must save little brother. Before it could finish, the little phoenix has fainted. Mu Yan suddenly stood up. The Tian Mo Qin suddenly turned into the crystal-clear Qi Ju's sword. Qi Huang hurriedly said, Jun Mu Yin, calm down, calm down. Why should she calm down? Her Xiao Bao is in danger now. How could she calm down? That pair of scarlet-red eyes faintly surged with a frenzied killing intent. Yun Ruhan and the others who were waiting outside were worried when they saw Mu Yin suddenly open the door. But before they could say anything, Mu Yin has already soared into the sky. But this time, she did not use the flying boat, but directly stood on the Qi Ju's sword, flying like lightning towards the Danyang mountain range. Damn, since when can little junior sister fly on a sword? Isn't she only at the stage of fasting? What's wrong with little junior sister? I think her expression is very strange. Let's go, let's catch up and see. An hour ago, Fushi's secret realm. After a few days of walking, a sea of red flowers suddenly appeared in front of them. The fat rabbit immediately rushed over and began to eat the snow-red lotus. It ate until its belly was round, then turned over and lazily lay on the ground to rest. Xie exclaimed, Wow, you guys really found the red lotus of Snow Domain. Xiao Bao's handsome little face was expressionless. With a cold, childish voice, he asked, "How do we destroy it?" Bai Xie was silent. The sword gently swayed. Suddenly, he said fiercely, "Motherfucker, ever since I came to this damn world, I have been trapped in this damn place 99% of the time. I really have had enough. If a brat like you isn't afraid, why should I be afraid? It's just a secret zone. If it's destroyed, so be it. I don't believe I can't defeat it." As soon as he finished speaking, the sword flew out of Xiao Bao's hand and fiercely crashed towards a certain direction. That place should have been an empty world. But when Bai Xie slammed into it, something strange happened. Wave-like patterns appeared in the air. It was as if an invisible wall was blocking Bai Xie's way. Bai Xie shouted, "Little master!" Xiao Bao leaped forward. His small body spun in the air like lightning and grabbed the hilt of the Bixia sword. Powerful spiritual energy poured into it. Bai Xie let out a furious roar. "Break!" In the next moment, there was a loud boom, and the ripples in the air grew larger and larger until there was a ka-ka sound, and it suddenly shattered. Even with Xiao Bao's composure, when the wall of air shattered and he saw the scene behind him, he revealed an astonished expression. The vast sea of flowers had disappeared. What appeared in front of him was a huge sinkhole. Chapter 1500. It was similar to the demonic vines that chased after Xiao Bao, but it was much thicker than those vines, much more terrifying. The Bai Xie sword trembled a little and fell down from the sky, carefully moving forward next to Xiao Bao. The originally noisy voice was now very soft. "Do you see that altar in front of the giant pit? On that altar, that thing that is emitting red light, that is the Fuxi Grand Array's formation eye. As long as we destroy that formation eye, the Fuxi Grand Array will naturally collapse. But those blood-red vines are all ancient demonic plants from the bottom of the blood abyss vine. Even an out-of-body stage cultivator would be killed by it in a matter of minutes. Fortunately, it is currently in a deep sleep. As long as we destroy the formation eye before it wakes up, the roots of these blood abyss vines will rot and naturally wither. So, you must be careful, don't wake it up." Xiao Bao nodded, with one hand holding the fat rabbit, the other holding the Bai Xie sword. He carefully walked towards the altar in front of him. But when he walked around the giant pit and saw the scene inside clearly, he almost screamed out loud. Below the giant pit, there was a mountain of corpses, a sea of blood. Broken limbs, just like that, were scattered all over the place. Nearest to Xiao Bao, there were pieces of intestines and organs that were pulled out. Even in the center of the giant pit, there were people struggling helplessly, moaning in pain and begging. Xiao Bao suddenly held the Bai Xie sword tightly, hugging the fat rabbit in his arms tightly. Her big blue eyes were closed, and her little face was as white as a sheet. The Bai Xie sword whispered in his ear, Ba, I can't even protect myself. I can't save you. Fellow villagers, please don't blame me. It's better for you to die early. Try to reincarnate into a good body in your next life. I say, young master, you must not be afraid. You must not panic. If you lose your composure here, we are dead meat." Xiao Bao took a deep breath, slowly opened his eyes. His big eyes were watery, but filled with determination. He was a man. He was Jun Machin who wanted to protect his mother. He must return to his mother's side. Xiao Bao walked forward step by step. The journey wasn't long, but the man, the sword, and the rabbit held their breaths in concentration. They were on tenterhooks, as if they had walked for a century. Finally, the red crystal appeared in front of him. Little Treasure stretched out his hand to take it. Bai Xie was startled. He quickly shouted, "You are seeking death. That's the scarlet demonic crystal. It's filled with En energy. If an ordinary person touches it, they'll be corroded into a puddle of blood." Xiao Bao frowned. Bai Xie said again, "Do you see the 7 small pools beside the altar? Go get some water from each pool and pour it on the red demonic crystal." This water was called the 7 Pure Spring. Together with the red lotus in the snow domain, It was used to nourish the blood abyss vine. However, the 7 clear springs is the nemesis of the scarlet-eyed demon crystal. As long as you pour all 7 types of spring water onto the scarlet-eyed demon crystal, it will quench the baleful energy within the demon crystal. At that time, you will be able to obtain the scarlet-eyed demon crystal, and the Fushi formation will naturally be broken. Xiao Bao nodded. He tiptoed to the side of the 7 clear springs. He didn't have any container with him. He could only use his small hands to scoop up the spring water. Chapter 1501. My God, who are you? The 7 clear spring is one of the purest holy objects in the entire cultivation world. If a normal cultivator's body and soul is not pure enough, they will be burned if they touch it. Bai Xie lowered his voice and continued to nag. Xiao Bao didn't pay any attention to him. He carefully poured the first handful of 7 Clearwater Spring on the red-eyed demonic crystal. The cold water poured down, but the red-eyed demon crystal let out a sizzling sound. The crystal shook violently, as if it was in extreme pain and anger. Xiao Bao looked at the blood abyss vines nervously, and after realizing that the vines did not react, he heaved a sigh of relief. Just like that, Xiao Bao patiently poured 4 handfuls of 7 clear spring on the red-eyed demon crystal. Just as Xiao Bao was about to take the 5th handful of 7 clear spring, the ground suddenly trembled. Then, the originally dim Fushi secret realm suddenly had a few strong rays of light shining down. It turned out that there was a huge hole at the top of the Fushi secret realm. What the heck? I can't be so unlucky, Bai Xie exclaimed. Although his voice was very soft, his tone was obviously filled with fear. Little master, quick! Hi! The blood abyss vines are awakening. Xiao Bao quickly hid behind the altar. Just as he hid, he saw something falling out of the hole in the wall. It was humans. All of them were human corpses. Most of them were dead, but there were also some that were half dead. A deep and rough voice of a man came from above. It's time to eat. Then, the sleeping blood abyss vines seemed to be awakened by something. They started to shake their giant vines, and one by one, they shot down into the hole. Ah! Monsters! Help! Help! Spare me! The blood-red vines moved at lightning speed, wrapping around most of the fallen humans. Following that, the entire space was filled with a crunching sound that made one's teeth ache. Xiao Bao hugged the fat rabbit in his arms tightly. His small body was trembling uncontrollably. Bai Xie also couldn't help but tremble lightly, as if he couldn't accept this scene. Just then, there was another conversation coming from above the hole. Boss, what do we do with these kids? Throw them down to feed the monsters. They're all from Dawn Academy, the children of those big families. If we're discovered, we'll all die a horrible death. They died here without a complete corpse. Who would know that it was related to us? A few childish voices came from above the cave. If you dare to kill me, my dad won't let you off. I'm going to tell Grandpa that you guys bullied me. The rough voice laughed out loud. That's if you're still alive to go back and complain. Kids, don't blame me. If you want to blame someone, blame yourselves for seeing something you shouldn't have seen and poking your nose into something you shouldn't have. Throw them all down. Oh, I don't want to die. I want mommy. I want daddy. Mother, save me. Boo-hoo-hoo-hoo, mother. Yin Yin is so scared. Quickly come and save Yin Yin. However, the childish pleas of the child could not be exchanged for any pity. Their small bodies were thrown into the cave one by one. The huge vines were like ferocious beasts baring their fangs and brandishing their claws as they excitedly pounced on the young bodies. Chapter 1502. His eyes reddened. Finally, he gritted his teeth and pounced forward. Bai Xie's speed was not much slower than his. Fuck, if I can still stand this, then I'm not a good young man. The moment the fat rabbit saw Xiao Bao pouncing forward, it let out a loud howl, and its body suddenly expanded several times. It pounced forward as well. One man, one sword, and one rabbit, at this moment, were incomparably compatible. The fat rabbit's huge body quickly caught the falling children. Bai Xie and Xiao Bao had already become one with their swords and slashed at the incoming vines. Bam! Xiao Bao felt as if his body had crashed into a hard boulder. His internal organs shook violently, and he groaned in pain. Bai Xie's sword was almost knocked away. But no matter what, they still managed to block the Blood Abyss Vine's attack on the children. The children who fell on the fat rabbit thought that they were going to die. When they regained their senses, they realized that they were still standing on a big furry ball. They couldn't help but cheer excitedly. "Ah, we're not dead. We've been saved." "Is it Daddy? Is Daddy here to save us?" "Stupid. Daddy doesn't even know we're here. The one who saved us must be a superhero." The little radishes looked up in unison, but when they saw the cold-faced boy standing on the flying sword, their eyes widened in disbelief. They were all dumbfounded. Why is it a kid younger than us? He's only a little older than Yin Yin." There were 5 children on the fat rabbit's body. Lu Hongyuan, 8 years old. Murong Hao and Feng Su, 6 years old. Duan Zi, 5 years old. And the only girl, Nailin Yin, 4 years old. The 5 of them came from rich and powerful families, and they were all talented geniuses. In their families, they had seen all kinds of powerful people. When they first saw that the person who saved them was only 5 years old, they couldn't help but rub their eyes, as if they couldn't believe what they saw. But the next moment, they saw that the blood-red vines, as if they were angry that their prey had been taken away. The vines made a cracking sound, and suddenly, a huge flower bloomed at the top. No, rather than calling it a flower, it would be more accurate to call it a bloody mouth that dripped with black saliva. Looking into the bloody mouth, one could see densely packed sharp teeth and a rotten smell lingering in the air. Be careful." The little radishes shrieked in fright, their faces turning deathly pale. The timid Nailin Yin even covered his eyes and sobbed, not daring to look at his handsome brother being devoured. Sob, sob, sob. Little Big Brother was implicated in order to save them. However, Nailin Yin soon heard Murong Hao exclaim, so powerful. God, is he really the same age as us? How could he be so powerful? Nailin Yin quickly put down his hand and looked over. She saw the handsome little brother, who she thought was going to be swallowed by the flowers, standing on the long sword with his small body. When the huge man-eating flower of the Blood Abyss Vine rushed over, Xiao Bao suddenly shouted, "Ward off, evil!" The black longsword shot out like a meteor. At some point, the hilt of the sword was already in Xiao Bao's hand. Chapter 15:03. But when they swung their swords, there seemed to be a suffocating air current in the air. Whoosh! The swords flashed, and blood-red liquid splattered everywhere. One of the Blood Abyss Vine's flowers was cut down by Xiao Bao and Bai Xie. Lu Honyuan, Nailin Yin, and the others covered their mouths. Their eyes were wide open and filled with shock and disbelief. So powerful! So powerful! So powerful! Who was this boy who was so beautiful that he didn't look like a mortal? How could he be so powerful? However, Xiao Bao's action of cutting down one of the Blood Abyss Vines seemed to have angered all of them. The entire pit shook violently. Then countless Blood Abyss Vines grew out crazily and rushed down into the pit. In just a moment, the vines had almost devoured all of the humans in the crater. The vines, which were already very thick to begin with, grew even bigger after devouring so much human flesh and blood. Around the pit, a foul and cold air filled the air. The children felt dizzy, their chests tightened, and they groaned in pain. Shit! Bai Xie's voice changed. If the Blood Abyss Vines were to forcefully evolve, I am no match for them. Quick, go back and destroy the Scarlet Demonic Crystal. The evil warding sword quickly changed direction and flew toward the altar. Behind them, the Blood Abyss Vines were hot on their heels. There's no time to get the 7 clear spring, Bai Xie shouted. used by Xie to pick up the scarlet-eye demonic crystal. Almost at the same time, Xiao Bao's sword was already aimed at the scarlet-eye demonic crystal that had already lost half of its luster. But when the tip of the sword touched the scarlet-eye demonic crystal, a huge rebound came from above. Xiao Bao clenched his teeth and pushed the sword down bit by bit. "Be careful!" The children behind him screamed in fear. Xiao Bao immediately felt the blood abyss vines coming from behind him. The fastest vine had already touched his back. Xiao Bao wanted to dodge, but the Bai CSF finally broke through the barrier of the scarlet-eye demonic crystal. If he gave up now, all the blood abyss vines would swarm up and swallow him and the children. Smack! A heavy whip landed on Xiao Bao's thin and small back. His clothes instantly tore apart, revealing his mangled back. Roar! The fat rabbit let out a deafening roar, turned around, and threw the few children to the side of the altar and directly rushed up. The huge rabbit opened its mouth and swallowed a few blood abyss vines into its stomach. The originally indestructible blood abyss vine began to tremble violently after being swallowed by the fat rabbit. It was even to the extent that some blood abyss vines intended to retreat in terror. However, it was too late for them to retreat. All the blood abyss vines that were swallowed by the fat rabbit began to rot rapidly, until the entire vine withered and turned into dust, disappearing into nothingness. The few little radishes that were left behind stared at this scene with their mouths agape. He didn't expect the immortal brother to be so powerful, but his pet was even more powerful. It actually swallowed so many of those terrifying monsters in one gulp. But in fact, the fat rabbit was not feeling well either. It could devour and corrode everything in the world. Che! Chapter 1504. After the few blood abyss vines were completely corroded, the fat rabbit's huge body suddenly shrunk. With a bang, it fell to the ground, opened its eyes, and struggled to stand up, but it was drowsy and could no longer move. The blood abyss vines seemed to feel the fat rabbit's weakness. They excitedly bared their fangs and claws, excitedly rushing over, wanting to completely devour the fat rabbit. They could feel that the fat rabbit was very dangerous, but if they could devour it, they would be completely reborn. Ah! Rabbit, quickly run! Woo 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 woo! Rabbit is going to be eaten! Quick, save Bunny! A few little ones screamed and wanted to crawl over, but their voices attracted the attention of the blood abyss vines. A few of the thinner blood-colored vines swayed and flew in their direction. A few little ones were instantly scared pale. They wanted to escape, but found that their legs were weak. They could not even stand up. Xiao Bao looked back, saw the fat rabbit that was about to be devoured by the blood abyss vines, and saw the children who were so scared that they could not even cry. He suddenly gritted his teeth, retracted the sword in his hand, and pushed forward. Bai Xie, protect Rabbit and those children from me. Little master, what are you trying to do? Xiao Bao did not care about Bai Xie's angry roar. With a quick step, he rushed forward, using his small and tender hands, directly hugged the red-eyed devil crystal. Ah! The intense pain from his palms spread to every inch of his bones and flesh. Xiao Bao seemed to hear the sound of his bones and flesh being burned. Even with his perseverance, he let out a shrill cry. But because of his action, the blood abyss vines seemed to be frightened. They all gave up on the fat rabbit and the children and rushed towards him in fear. Little master! Bai Xie quickly rushed back, wanted to protect Xiao Bao. But the number of blood abyss vines rushing towards Xiao Bao was too many. Bai Xie cut a few, but was still flung away by the thickest few, landing beside the fat rabbit, and could no longer fly on its own. Ayo! Ho ho! The fat rabbit struggled to raise its head, wanting to save its little master. But the sleepiness and numbness brought about by devouring energy that exceeded its limit made it unable to move. Blood-red tears flowed down from the fat rabbit's two mung bean eyes. It fiercely bit its own thigh, causing blood to drip down, and the wound was so deep that the bone could be seen. But it didn't care about the pain at all. Biting again and again, he stimulated his numb and stiff body. "Little master, wait for this rabbit. This rabbit will definitely save you." The children's eyes reddened when they saw this scene. Nail and Yin started crying. "Why, I don't want little big brother to die. Where are you, Daddy? Grandpa, where are you? Can you come and save little brother?" Even Lu Hongyuan, who was the oldest, and Feng Su, who was the calmest, couldn't stop wiping away their tears. Remorse and guilt almost crushed their small hearts. "It's all our fault. If it weren't for saving us, he wouldn't have needed to come out. Why do we have to be so naughty and run away from Dawn Academy? If we hadn't run away, we wouldn't have seen that. If we hadn't seen it, we wouldn't have been thrown here to feed the monsters, and we wouldn't have implicated others." Chapter 1505. The few little fellows cried and shouted. Suddenly, they steeled their hearts and rushed directly toward the blood abyss vine that wrapped around Xiaobao. "Batty, Batty, I'll bite you to death. Don't bully our boss." "That's right. That's our savior, and also our boss. Whoever dares to bully our boss, we'll fight them to the death. Woo, woo, woo. Let go of my big brother." The evil warding sword buzzed and shot up from the ground. "Damn it, today's limelight was stolen by a bunch of kids. How can this be? Trash blood abyss vines. Weren't you raised to corrode my protective barrier? Come at me if you can. I'll fight you to the death. Since I've recognized him as my master, I won't allow you to bully him." The exorcism sword whistled through the air as it charged toward the blood abyss vine that had wrapped around Xiaobao. But his voice was choked with sorrow and sobs, because he knew that even if he killed all the blood abyss vines now, it would still be impossible for little Bao to survive unscathed. These blood abyss vines had no time to care about him and the child. It was because they were devouring little master's body. In fact, even if the blood abyss vine did not do anything, just the demonic chi from the scarlet demonic crystal would be enough to completely destroy its little master's body. He was so useless. He was too useless. He thought that he was invincible and invincible. He even wanted to deceive the little master and use him to escape from this damned place. But he didn't expect that he couldn't even protect his only master. Roar! The fat rabbit finally stood up, and its body expanded several times. Its entire body was drenched in blood, and its eyes were completely red. There was not the slightest bit of warmth in his eyes, only pure killing intent. Since they dared to hurt its little master, it wanted to devour all of these monsters. It wanted to destroy everything. It was clamorous outside. However, little Bao, who was enveloped by the blood abyss vine, felt that all the warmth and vitality in his body were gradually slipping away. The blood abyss vine opened its sharp teeth and bit his body. Intense tearing pain came from every inch of his flesh and skin. However, this was not the most painful part. What hurt him the most was the scarlet-eyed demonic crystal that he was hugging tightly in his arms. The baleful energy on the demonic crystal was slowly corroding his body. Xiaobao could clearly feel that the spiritual power he had cultivated in his body had disappeared. His dantian had disappeared. His whole body was in so much pain that it was unbearable. Mother, Xiaobao misses you so much. I really want to see you again." No, it was better not to see him. If his mother saw him like this, how distressed and uncomfortable would she be? He didn't want to see his mother cry. He hoped that his mother would always be happy and cheerful. The scarlet-eyed demonic crystal flickered and emitted a dazzling red light. They were like the greedy eyes of a monster. Immortal physique. This was a celestial physique. So delicious, so tender, so fragrant. It was devouring it bit by bit. As long as it finished devouring it, it would be able to gain sentience and obtain a true new life. However, right at this moment, little Bao suddenly opened his eyes. A cold and fearless smile appeared on his blood-covered face. In the next moment, A blue vortex appeared in his dantian. He was his mother's son. He was his father's son. Chapter 1506. Even if he had to perish together, he would not admit defeat, nor would he let this stupid stone hurt the fat rabbit and Baisia. A large amount of black gas began to gush out from the scarlet-eyed demonic crystal and was absorbed by Xiao Bao's dantian. The red-eyed demonic crystal panicked and struggled to break free from Xiao Bao's grasp. However, that pair of bloodied hands grabbed the crystal tightly. A young but hoarse voice came from his throat. I said, I will destroy this secret realm. Daddy said a man must do what he says. Little treasure will definitely do it. But mother, I'm sorry. Xiao Bao will never be able to return to your side. Mother, don't be sad, don't be sad. No matter where Xiao Bao goes, he will love you the most. Love you the most. Boom! The pit began to shake violently. No, it would be more accurate to say that the entire Fushi secret realm was shaking violently. The huge altar's floor began to crack. Countless rocks rolled into the bottom of the pit. The little fellows lost their footing and almost rolled down with him. It was the Bishia sword with its sharp eyes and quick hands that caught them. The blood abyss vines that were biting and tearing at Little Bao were now trembling violently in fear. As the black gas in the scarlet-eyed demonic crystal was slowly devoured by Xiao Bao's body, the blood abyss vines began to wither one by one. This time, they were really panicking. He even wished for nothing more than to uproot himself and escape from the Fushi Grand Array. However, there was no way the fat rabbit would allow them to leave. With a roar, he charged forward and devoured them one by one. However, when the fat rabbit wanted to rush over to save Xiao Bao, when it came into contact with the scarlet-eyed demonic crystal and the black mist surrounding Xiao Bao, it let out a pained howl and was directly bounced back. The fat rabbit wanted to rush forward again, but was stopped by Xie. Don't waste your energy. That's the baleful Yin-Chi of the scarlet-eyed demonic crystal. I don't know what kind of ferocious beast you are, but even the ancient divine beasts of the Shoshin continent would not be able to fight against such strong, baleful Yin-Chi when they are still young. The fat rabbit opened its mouth and roared angrily, revealing its bloody lips and teeth. Not to mention the kids. Even Xie was trembling in fear. But then, Xie turned to look at Xiao Bao, and his voice was filled with shock. What kind of monstrous little master did I recognize? He could actually devour the baleful Yin-Chi of the scarlet-eyed demonic crystal. Heavens, that's baleful Yin-Chi. Even my evil warding sword would be corroded if it touched it. Jian, who can talk? Do you know how to save our boss? The little radish head beside him asked with anticipation. Xie swung his sword and shouted angrily, You are the cheap one. It's not that I don't want to save Little Master. It's just that I'm powerless. Right now, Little Master is in a stalemate with the scarlet-eyed demonic crystal's power, and it has even formed a barrier. Even the seven spring water can't penetrate it. Now, we can only wait and see whether Little Master will be able to devour the power of the scarlet-eyed demon crystal, or the scarlet-eyed demon crystal will completely devour Little Master. Although Xie said that the fat rabbit was still like a madman, it kept hitting the black mist. Even if his skin and fur fell off and there wasn't a single part of his body that was intact, he still refused to stop. Chapter 1507. The little ones kneeled on the ground, wiping their tears as they stared at Xiao Bao's direction in fear and anticipation. But what made everyone despair was the black mist around Xiao Bao was getting thicker and thicker. The blood abyss vines that were supposed to have rotted and disappeared were now growing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Xie's voice was trembling, filled with endless regret. I can't feel Little Master's aura. That meant that Xiao Bao's life force was slowly being devoured by the red-eyed demonic crystal. But there was nothing they could do. Not only was there nothing they could do, they could only run away. The Fushi Grand Array stopped collapsing, and the blood abyss vines were growing faster and faster. There were even two vines that were charging towards them. Bai Xie leaped up and cut the two vines in half. But because the red-eyed demonic crystal had taken the initiative, the vines were growing faster and faster. They were about to return to their prime. Bai Xie was anxious. No, we can't stay here any longer. I promised Little Master to protect you all. I can't let you all die here. I can't let Little Master's sacrifice go to waste. No, I'm not leaving. Nailin Yin screamed. Yin Yin is not leaving. Yin Yin wants to stay with little brother. Little brother will not die. Sob, sob, sob. Lu Hongyuan and the rest were scared out of their wits. Their limbs were cold and shivering. But when they heard Bai Xie and Nailin Yan's words, all of them sniffled and clenched their fists. Others fell into danger to save us. If we abandon them, what difference is there between us and a shameless bastard? My father taught me not to be such a bad person, Lu Hongyuan said resolutely. The other little ones did not understand Lu Hongyuan's words, but they all nodded with red eyes. Yes, we are not leaving. We will cheer for boss. Bai Xie was about to go crazy, but there was nothing he could do to these little ones. Not to mention the fat rabbit who had already gone mad. He was thinking of knocking the little ones out one by one and taking them away. Suddenly, powerful Yin energy poured out like a flood that had its floodgates opened. The blood abyss vines that were growing bit by bit suddenly grew bigger, emitting a thick stench of blood. It bared its fangs and brandished its claws at them. Clang! Bai Xie fell to the ground, and the sword trembled. His voice was hoarse and trembling, filled with pain and despair. Young Master! Young Master, had Little Master died? Hence, the scarlet-eyed demonic crystal had completely recovered and was even stronger than before. Hence, when the Fushi Grand Array was reformed, the blood abyss vines became even more terrifying. It was destined to be buried here. With its divine sense erased, it would never be able to make a sound again. But if it died, then so be it. Why did it have to implicate its little master? The body of the sword buzzed and became completely silent, as if it had given up all hope. The little fellows seemed to have realized something as well. They stared blankly at the scene in front of them as tears dripped down their cheeks. Wow! Little brother! Woo woo woo! Lu Hanyuan reached out and pulled Nailin Yin into his arms. He choked with sobs. Yin Yin, don't cry. Your little brother is so brave. He didn't fear death to save us. We can't be weak. We can't be afraid of death. Yes, death is death. I'm a man. I'm not afraid. Chapter 1508. The fat rabbit's eyes are blinking, already completely filled with red. If someone were to look at its eyes right now, they would find that the pair of mung bean eyes has grown a bit bigger. They have turned into two blood-red round eyes. However, this pair of round eyes doesn't have the slightest bit of human nature, only endless cruelty and indifference. That is indiscriminate cruelty, indifference towards all living things in this world. Only that little figure wrapped in black gas is reflected in its eyes, hanging on to its little conscience. As long as this thread is broken, then it will become the evil demon that everyone in this world fears and all living things hate. The air is filled with the stench of decay and blood, like a purgatory that can consign people to eternal damnation. But even more than that, there is sorrow, pain, and regret. Sorrow for the little person's life fading away, pain for its own helplessness, regret for not being strong enough. However, at this time, a sudden change. Two strong lights come crashing down from above the Fushi secret realm. Then, the entire secret realm starts to shake violently. Bai Xie, who was originally disheartened, suddenly jumps up from the ground. His voice changed. What's wrong? What's wrong? Fuck, wait a minute, this is godly power. What's the other power? Why have I never seen it before? Bai Xie stares blankly at Xiao Bao, who is wrapped in the two lights. His sword body trembles uncontrollably. Fuck, fuck, fuck. This can't be real, right? How can this be? Am I dreaming? Little master, who the hell are you? And the fat rabbit's completely bloodshot eyes regain a trace of clarity. Its nose twitches, as if it smells a familiar scent. Then, tears condense in the round mung bean eyes, and drops fall. Woo woo woo, female devil, June. Hurry up and save the little master, Shoshin continent, polar domain. Jun Shang, this is the information we have submitted. May I ask how you would like to reply? Elder Chong waves his hand. The image that originally appeared in the void disappears. He respectfully bows his head towards Di Mingju. The man sitting high above on the throne was handsome and powerful, cold and dignified, making people subconsciously look up to him. Many immortals in the firmament hall looked up at the supreme ruler in awe and reverence. But Di Mingju's expression is very cold and distant. The news of power struggles that could make ordinary immortals' blood boil with excitement didn't even have the qualifications to make his eyebrows twitch. This was their emperor, their master, and the only expert they followed. Di Feng curled his fingers and knocked on the back of the chair expressionlessly. Just as he was about to speak, his expression abruptly changed, and he frowned slightly. Elder Chong, who was standing closer, noticed something and asked anxiously, "My lord, what's wrong?" With a calm face, Di Mingju waves his hand. Everyone withdraw. Everyone in the Lingxiao Hall looked at each other. They did not know why the Empyrean Emperor asked them to leave halfway through the discussion. But for a long time, their reverence for Di Mingju still makes them obey without question. After everyone retreats, Di Mingju impressively stands up from his seat, his expression gloomy and frightening. "My lord, what's wrong?" Di Mingju smiles coldly. "Someone actually has the audacity to touch Ben Jun's son." You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.